The phone vibrated 3 times before Ethan Cole noticed it. His coworkers huddled near the break room, phones angled toward the restaurant across the street, recording. Inside, a woman sat alone at table 7 checking her watch. Ethan had no idea she was deaf. He had no idea this was a test. What he did know, his daughter needed new shoes, his shift ended in 20 minutes, and he'd agreed to this blind date only because Sandra from accounting wouldn't stop pestering him. He pulled open the restaurant door. The trap was set. But nobody, not even the woman waiting, knew what Ethan Cole was actually capable of. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below and hit that like button. I want to see how far this story travels. Let's get into it. The fluorescent lights of Morrison and Hale Manufacturing flickered the way they always did at 6:47 p.m., casting uneven shadows across the production floor. Ethan Cole wiped grease from his hands with a red shop towel, the fabric stiff from too many washes. His station was clean, cleaner than anyone else's, which drove some people crazy for reasons he'd never understand. "You're actually going." Marcus leaned against the tool rack, arms crossed, grinning like he'd just won something. Ethan didn't look up. "You asked me to, 17 times. I asked you to consider expanding your social circle," Marcus said. "Sandra made the actual arrangements. Sandra ambushed me in the parking lot." "Details?" Marcus pushed off the rack. "Point is, you're going, tonight, Salvatore's, 7:30. Ethan finally met his eyes. "Why do you care if I go on a date?" Something flickered across Marcus's face, too quick to name. "Because you're turning into a hermit, man. When's the last time you did something for yourself?" "I do things for myself. Taking Emma to soccer practice doesn't count." "Taking Emma anywhere counts," Ethan said quietly. "She's my daughter." Marcus's expression shifted, just slightly, almost guilty. Almost. "Yeah, well, one dinner won't kill you. The woman's name is Lily, that's all I know. Sandra set it up through a friend of a friend or something. That's comforting. Just show up. Be yourself. You're good at that." Marcus clapped him on the shoulder and walked away before Ethan could respond. Across the floor, near the quality control station, Sandra whispered something to Jennifer, who immediately pulled out her phone. They both looked toward Ethan, then quickly away. He'd worked at Morrison and Hale for 4 years. In that time, he'd kept his head down, done his job, helped when asked, and left when his shift ended. He didn't gossip, didn't drink with the guys after work, didn't date anyone from the office, despite Jennifer's hints that became less subtle every month. People didn't know what to make of him. Some thought he was stuck up. Others assumed he was hiding something. A few believed he was exactly what he appeared to be, a quiet, decent man doing his best to raise a kid alone. Nobody could agree which version was true, so they decided to find out. Ethan picked Emma up from his neighbor's house at 6:55. Mrs. Chen answered the door with flour on her apron and Emma's backpack already waiting. "How was she?" Ethan asked. "Perfect, as always. We made dumplings. She's a natural." Emma appeared behind Mrs. Chen, 8 years old with her mother's dark curls and Ethan's gray eyes. "Dad, Mrs. Chen says I can fold better than her grandson." "Her grandson is 23 and can't boil water," Mrs. Chen said. "Low bar." Ethan smiled. "Thanks for watching her on short notice." "You have plans?" Mrs. Chen's eyebrows lifted with interest. "Something like that." "A date?" "Possibly." "Good. You should. Emma, tell your father he should." Emma looked up at him seriously. "You should." "Peer pressure from an 8-year-old, Ethan muttered. "Great." They drove home in the fading light. Emma talked about fractions and a boy named Tyler who tried to trade her a broken calculator for her fruit snacks. Ethan made the appropriate sounds of interest while his mind drifted to the restaurant, the unknown woman, the strange insistence from people at work. Something felt off. He couldn't name it, just a tug in his gut that said this wasn't what it appeared to be. But he'd learned, over the past 3 years since Rachel died, that his gut was often wrong about things that didn't involve machinery or his daughter. Social situations existed in a territory he'd stopped understanding somewhere around the funeral, when people said things they didn't mean and meant things they didn't say. "Are you nervous?" Emma asked. "About what?" "Your date." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "How do you know about that?" "Mrs. Chen told me while you were parking." Of course she did. Are you, though? Nervous? Ethan considered lying, then didn't. Yeah, a little. Mom would want you to go. His hands tightened on the wheel. What makes you say that? Because she told me once that if anything happened to her, you'd probably forget how to talk to people. She said you were good at fixing things, but bad at fixing yourself. Rachel's words, in Emma's voice, the gut punch of memory. She was right about that, Ethan said quietly. So you should go. Fix yourself. That's not how dating works, Em. How does it work? I'll let you know if I figure it out. Salvatore's occupied a corner lot downtown, the kind of place with cloth napkins and candles on every table. Ethan had driven past it 1,000 times, but never been inside. Too expensive, too formal, too everything he wasn't. He parked 3 blocks away and checked his reflection in the side mirror. Clean shirt, clean face, hair doing whatever hair did when you stopped paying attention to it. Good enough. He walked slowly, buying time, watching the restaurant windows. Inside, people laughed and ate and lived lives that looked effortless. He'd forgotten how to do that, or maybe he'd never known. Rachel had been the effortless one. She'd talked to strangers like they were old friends, remembered birthdays, knew what to say at parties. Ethan had just stood beside her, grateful. Without her, he was just a man who fixed machines and raised a daughter and didn't know how to do much else. The restaurant door felt heavier than it should. Inside, warm air and the smell of garlic bread. A hostess with perfect lipstick smiled at him. Good evening. Do you have a reservation? I'm meeting someone, 7:30. The name might be under Lily? The hostess checked her tablet. Ah, yes, your party is already seated. Table 7. Right this way. She led him through the dining room. People looked up, then away. Standard restaurant choreography. But something in the glances felt weighted, knowing. Table 7 sat near the window. A woman waited there, facing the door. Ethan's first thought, she looked tired. Not in an obvious way. She was put together. Dark hair pulled back, simple black dress, careful makeup. But her shoulders carried tension, and her eyes held the particular wariness of someone bracing for disappointment. She was also, he noticed, watching the door with an intensity that didn't match a casual blind date. The hostess gestured to the table. Enjoy your evening. The woman, Lily, presumably, looked up at him. Ethan raised a hand in greeting. Hi, I'm Ethan. She didn't respond, just looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Not unfriendly. Not friendly either. Somewhere in between, where people existed when they were protecting themselves. He tried again. Sorry I'm late, work ran over. Still nothing. Then she lifted her hands and began to sign. Ethan's brain caught up half a second before his mouth would have said something stupid. She was deaf. His coworkers had set him up on a blind date with a deaf woman, without telling him. The setup crystallized in his mind with sudden, perfect clarity. They expected him to panic, to fumble, to reveal himself as whatever they decided he was, a fraud, a fake, a man whose kindness was just performance. This was a test. Across the restaurant near the bar, he caught movement. Marcus, phone out, angled toward their table. Sandra beside him, recording. They weren't even hiding it. Lily was still signing, slower now, her expression shifting toward resignation. She'd done this before, Ethan realized. Been on dates where men didn't know, couldn't communicate, made excuses and left. She was expecting him to leave. Ethan pulled out his chair and sat down. Then he lifted his hands and signed back. I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic was worse than I expected. Lily's eyes went wide. For 3 full seconds, she just stared at him. Then her hands moved, hesitant. You know ASL? My mother was deaf, Ethan signed. I grew up with it. Your mother. She passed away 6 years ago. But yes. Lily's hands dropped to her lap. She looked down, then back up, and something had shifted in her face. The wariness was still there, but underneath it, surprise. Real surprise. I didn't know you could sign, she signed slowly. They didn't tell you? She shook her head. They didn't tell me you were deaf, Ethan signed. This was a setup. Apparently, Lily's eyes cut toward the bar, where Marcus and Sandra were no longer bothering to hide. She went very still. Did you know? She signed. Not until 30 seconds ago. They're recording us. I noticed. Do you want to leave? Ethan looked at her. Actually looked, past the careful makeup and the guarded expression, to the person underneath. Someone who'd been through this enough times to expect the worst. Someone who'd walked in here tonight believing she was helping expose a fraud, only to find herself in the middle of something else entirely. Do you? He signed. She hesitated. I don't know what's happening. Me neither, but I'm hungry, and you already ordered bread. He nodded to the basket on the table. Seems like a waste to leave now. The smallest smile tugged at her mouth. You're not what I expected. Good or bad? I haven't decided yet. Fair. A waiter appeared, menus in hand. Ethan ordered water and asked Lily if she wanted anything. She pointed to the menu, and they worked through the options together, half in sign, half in writing on the paper placemat when signs weren't enough. The waiter left. The candle between them flickered. Can I ask you something? Lily signed. Sure. Why did you stay? Ethan thought about it. About Emma saying fix yourself. About Marcus and Sandra watching from the bar with their phones out, waiting for him to fail. About Rachel, who'd once told him that the right thing was usually the hard thing, and the hard thing was usually obvious if you stopped overthinking it. Because leaving would have been easier, he signed, and I'm tired of easy. Lily studied him. That doesn't make sense, I know. But I think I understand anyway. The waiter returned with water and breadsticks. They ordered chicken parmesan for him, pasta primavera for her. When the waiter left again, Lily broke a breadstick in half and offered him a piece. Truce? She signed. Were we fighting? I don't know. Were we? Ethan took the bread. I don't fight on the first date. Second date, maybe? Ambitious, assuming there'll be a second date. You're right. Let me try again. He set the bread down and signed carefully. Hi, I'm Ethan Cole. I work at a manufacturing plant. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I have no idea what I'm doing here. But you seem interesting, and I'd like to know more about you if you're willing to share. Lily's expression softened. I'm Lily Harper. I'm a graphic designer. I live alone, and I came here tonight because someone told me it would be funny. Funny? They said you were too good to be true, that nobody's actually that nice. They wanted to prove you were faking it. By setting us up? She nodded. I was supposed to see you panic when you realized I couldn't hear you. But I didn't panic. No, you didn't. They sat with that for a moment. Across the restaurant, Marcus and Sandra had stopped recording. They were just watching now, confusion clear even from a distance. So what do we do now? Ethan signed. I don't know. This wasn't in the plan. Maybe we don't follow the plan. What do we do instead? Ethan picked up his water glass. We have dinner. We talk. We see what happens. Lily lifted her own glass. They clinked them together, the soft sound lost in the restaurant noise. To not following the plan, she signed. To not following the plan. The food arrived 20 minutes later. By then, they'd covered the basics, where they grew up, what they did for work, how they ended up in this city. Surface-level things, safe territory. But between the safe questions, other things emerged. Lily had been deaf since birth, grew up in a hearing family that tried, not always successfully, to bridge the gap. Learned early that the world wasn't built for people like her, and that most people treated her deafness like a tragedy that needed fixing instead of a fact that needed accommodating. Dating is the worst, she signed over her pasta. People either fetishize it or run away from it. Nobody just treats it like a normal thing. It is a normal thing, Ethan signed. Tell that to the last guy who brought a notepad to dinner and wrote everything down instead of looking at me. That's idiotic. That's experience. Ethan cut his chicken. My mom used to say the hearing world was built by people who forgot that sound was optional. Lily's hands paused mid-sign. Your mother sounds like she was smart. She was. She also had a mean streak when people were stupid about it. I like her already. She would have liked you. The words hung between them, more weight than Ethan had intended. Lily looked down at her plate, then back up. Can I ask about your daughter? She signed. Emma. She's 8. She's smarter than me. Most 8-year-olds are. Fair point. Where's her mother? The question landed like it always did, half expected, still painful. She died 3 years ago. Cancer. Lily's expression shifted. I'm sorry. Me too. That must be hard. Raising her alone. It's the only part that makes sense anymore, Ethan signed. Everything else feels like I'm faking it. Even this? He met her eyes. Especially this. Why? Because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to sit across from someone and pretend I'm a person who goes on dates and has his life together. I know how to change oil and help with homework and make sure Emma eats vegetables. That's it. That's all I've got. Lily set down her fork. That's more than most people have. It doesn't feel like it. Feelings are liars. Ethan blinked. What? Feelings are liars, she signed again. They tell you you're not enough when you are. They tell you you're failing when you're not. They're useful sometimes, but mostly they just get in the way. Where'd you learn that? Therapy. Years of it. Did it work? I'm here, aren't I? Is that a good thing? Lily smiled, a real smile this time, reaching her eyes. Ask me at the end of the night. They talked through dinner, then dessert. The restaurant filled and emptied around them. Marcus and Sandra had long since left, their trap sprung and failed. Ethan found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in months, maybe years. Lily was sharp and funny and didn't bullshit. She called him out when he dodged questions, pushed back when he tried to deflect with humor. She also understood silence in a way most people didn't. When the conversation paused, she didn't rush to fill it, just sat with it, comfortable in the quiet. Can I tell you something? She signed as the waiter cleared their plates. Sure. I almost didn't come tonight. Why not? Because I knew it was a setup. I knew it was supposed to be mean. And I came anyway because I wanted to see if they were right. About me? About people. About whether anyone actually means what they say. And? She looked at him for a long moment. I don't know yet, but I'm starting to think maybe they're not all liars. Ethan's phone buzzed. Emma, texting from Mrs. Chen's iPad. Are you having fun? He typed back, Yeah, actually, I am. Good. Don't mess it up. I'll try not to. When he looked up, Lily was watching him. Your daughter? Giving me dating advice. Smart kid. Too smart. Is that possible? You haven't met her. Lily's expression turned thoughtful. Would I? Meet her? The question caught him off guard. Do you want to? I don't know, maybe. If this goes anywhere. Does it? Go anywhere? I don't know that either. Ethan signed slowly, carefully. What do you know? Lily's hands moved with equal care. I know this wasn't what I expected. I know you're either the best actor I've ever met or you're actually this person, and I know I'd like to find out which one is true. How do we do that? We see each other again. No setups, no recordings, just us. When? When are you free? Ethan thought about his schedule, work, Emma, the endless logistics of single parenthood. Saturday afternoon, Emma has soccer from 9 to 11. After that, I'm open. There's a farmer's market on 4th Street. Meet me there at noon? Okay. Okay. They paid the bill, splitting it over Ethan's protests, and walked outside. The night had cooled, stars barely visible through the city light. I'll walk you to your car, Ethan signed. You don't have to. I know. They walked in silence for a block. Lily's car was parked near the park, a small sedan with a dent in the back bumper. She unlocked it, but didn't get in. Thank you, she signed. For what? For staying, for talking, for not making this weird. It was a little weird, Ethan signed. Weird good or weird bad? Weird good. She smiled. I'll see you Saturday. Saturday. Lily got in her car and drove away. Ethan stood there for a moment, watching her taillights disappear, trying to process what had just happened. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Dude, what the hell was that? Ethan typed back. A date. You weren't supposed to actually connect with her. Why not? Because it was supposed to prove you're full of shit. Sorry to disappoint. We need to talk Monday. Looking forward to it. Ethan pocketed his phone and walked to his car. The night felt different than when it started. Lighter, maybe. Less like he was faking his way through life. and more like he was actually living it. When he got home, Emma was asleep on the couch, Mrs. Chen reading beside her. "How was it?" Mrs. Chen whispered. "Good," Ethan said. "Really good." "Will you see her again?" "Saturday," Mrs. Chen smiled. "Good. You deserve good things, Ethan." He carried Emma to bed, tucked her in, and stood in the doorway watching her sleep. Rachel's face in miniature, breathing steady and sure. "You'd like her," he thought. "I think you'd really like her." Somewhere across the city, Lily was probably home, maybe thinking the same things. Or maybe not. Maybe she was already regretting it, already pulling back. He'd find out Saturday. For now, this was enough. Kim tra lại xem du số thứ chưa? Nếu chưa, hãy viết lại cho đầy đủ. Ghi nhớ viết đầu đủ ở các part sau 13 giờ 28 phút. Tôi đã kiểm tra lại part 1 và đem được khoảng 3.200 từ, thiếu gần một nửa so với yêu cầu 6.500 đến 7.000 từ cho phần mở đầu. Tôi sẽ viết lại part 1 đầy đủ ngay bây giờ. The silent setup opening hook, 100 words. The phone vibrated 3 times before Ethan Cole noticed it. His coworkers huddled near the break room, phones angled toward the restaurant across the street, recording. Inside, a woman sat alone at table 7, checking her watch. Ethan had no idea she was deaf. He had no idea this was a test. What he did know, his daughter needed new shoes, his shift ended in 20 minutes, and he'd agreed to this blind date only because Sandra from accounting wouldn't stop pestering him. He pulled open the restaurant door. The trap was set. But nobody, not even the woman waiting, knew what Ethan Cole was actually capable of. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below and hit that like button. I want to see how far this story travels. Let's get into it. Part 1. The fluorescent lights of Morrison and Hale Manufacturing flickered the way they always did at 6:47 p.m., casting uneven shadows across the production floor. Ethan Cole wiped grease from his hands with a red shop towel, the fabric stiff from too many washes and still smelling faintly of the industrial degreaser they'd switched to last month. His station was clean, cleaner than anyone else's, which drove some people crazy for reasons he'd never fully understand. "You're actually going." Marcus leaned against the tool rack, arms crossed, grinning like he'd just won something important. Ethan didn't look up from coiling the pneumatic hose. "You asked me to, 17 times. I asked you to consider expanding your social circle," Marcus said, picking at a rough spot on the metal rack. "Sandra made the actual arrangements. Sandra ambushed me in the parking lot." Details. Marcus pushed off the rack, his steel-toed boots scuffing against the concrete floor. "Point is, you're going, tonight. Salvatore's, 7:30. Ethan finally met his eyes. "Why do you care if I go on a date?" Something flickered across Marcus's face. Too quick to name, gone before Ethan could pin it down. "Because you're turning into a hermit, man. When's the last time you did something for yourself?" "I do things for myself. Taking Emma to soccer practice doesn't count. Taking Emma anywhere counts," Ethan said quietly, hanging the hose on its designated hook. "She's my daughter." Marcus's expression shifted, just slightly, almost guilty. Almost. "Yeah, well, one dinner won't kill you. The woman's name is Lily. That's all I know. Sandra set it up through a friend of a friend or something. That's comforting. Just show up. Be yourself. You're good at that." Marcus clapped him on the shoulder and walked away before Ethan could respond, his footsteps echoing across the empty floor. Across the production area, near the quality control station, Sandra whispered something to Jennifer, who immediately pulled out her phone. They both looked toward Ethan, then quickly away when he glanced in their direction. Jennifer's laugh carried across the space, too loud, too performative. Ethan had worked at Morrison and Hale for 4 years. In that time, he'd kept his head down, done his job well, helped when asked, and left when his shift ended. He didn't gossip, didn't drink with the guys after work on Fridays, didn't date anyone from the office, despite Jennifer's hints that became less subtle every month, progressing from casual comments to outright invitations he'd politely declined. People didn't know what to make of him. Some thought he was stuck up. Others assumed he was hiding something, A criminal record maybe, or a secret family somewhere. A few believed he was exactly what he appeared to be. A quiet, decent man doing his best to raise a kid alone and not screw it up too badly. Nobody could agree which version was true, so they decided to find out. The thing was, Ethan had noticed. He wasn't oblivious. He'd caught the sideways glances, the conversations that stopped when he entered the break room, the way people watched him when they thought he wasn't paying attention. He'd just chosen to ignore it because engaging meant drama, and drama meant energy he didn't have to spare. But tonight, apparently, ignoring it wasn't an option anymore. He clocked out at 7:02, grabbed his jacket from his locker, and headed for the parking lot. The evening air was cool, carrying the smell of rain that hadn't fallen yet. His truck sat in its usual spot, third row back, under the oak tree that dropped acorns on the hood every fall. The drive to Mrs. Chen's house took 12 minutes. He'd timed it once during the first week Emma started staying there after school, paranoid about response time if something went wrong. Nothing ever had. But he still drove the same route, still parked in the same spot on her street, still felt the same small knot of anxiety until he saw Emma's face. Mrs. Chen answered the door with flour on her apron and Emma's backpack already waiting on the bench in her entryway. "How was she?" Ethan asked, the same question he asked every time. "Perfect, as always. We made dumplings. She's a natural." Mrs. Chen stepped aside, letting him into the warm kitchen that always smelled like ginger and sesame oil. "Emma, your father's here." Emma appeared from the living room, 8 years old, with her mother's dark curls and Ethan's gray eyes. She had a smudge of flour on her cheek and a look of intense concentration. "Dad, Mrs. Chen says I can fold better than her grandson." "Her grandson is 23 and can't boil water," Mrs. Chen said, handing Ethan the backpack. Low bar. Ethan smiled despite himself. "Thanks for watching her on short notice." "You have plans?" Mrs. Chen's eyebrows lifted with interest. The kind of interest that meant she'd already heard something through the neighborhood grapevine. Something like that. "A date?" "Possibly." "Good. You should. Emma, tell your father he should." Emma looked up at him with complete seriousness, the way she did when discussing important matters like bedtime negotiations or the existence of Santa Claus. "You should?" "Peer pressure from an 8-year-old, Ethan muttered, zipping up Emma's backpack. "Great. I'm almost 9, Emma corrected. In 4 months. Still counts." They drove home in the fading light, the radio playing something soft and forgettable. Emma talked about fractions, how they made sense now that Mrs. Chen had explained them with actual dumplings, and a boy named Tyler who'd tried to trade her a broken calculator for her fruit snacks during lunch. "What did you tell him?" Ethan asked, turning onto their street. "That fruit snacks are a premium commodity and broken calculators are worthless. Then I ate them in front of him." "That's cold, Em." He started it. "Fair enough." Ethan made the appropriate sounds of interest while his mind drifted to the restaurant, the unknown woman, the strange insistence from people at work. Something felt off about the whole situation. He couldn't name it exactly, just a tug in his gut that said this wasn't what it appeared to be. But he'd learned over the past 3 years since Rachel died that his gut was often wrong about things that didn't involve machinery or his daughter. Social situations existed in a territory he'd stopped understanding somewhere around the funeral, when people said things they didn't mean and meant things they didn't say. And everyone expected him to navigate it all while his entire world was falling apart. "Are you nervous?" Emma asked from the back seat. "About what?" "Your date." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "How do you know about that?" "Mrs. Chen told me while you were parking." "Of course she did. Are you, though, nervous?" Ethan considered lying, then didn't. Emma had Rachel's bullshit detector, uncanny and unforgiving. "Yeah, a little. Mom would want you to go." His hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles going white for just a second before he consciously relaxed them. "What makes you say that?" "Because she told me once that if anything happened to her, you'd probably forget how to talk to people. She said you were good at fixing things, but bad at fixing yourself." Rachel's words and Emma's voice. The gut punch of memory, sharp and immediate. Rachel had said it during one of their late-night conversations after Emma was asleep, when the treatments weren't working and they both knew it but weren't saying it out loud yet. She was right about that, Ethan said quietly, pulling into their driveway. So you should go. Fix yourself. That's not how dating works, Em. How does it work? I'll let you know if I figure it out. Inside, Emma went straight to her room to change out of her school clothes. Ethan stood in the hallway, looking at the framed photos on the wall. Rachel smiling on their wedding day. Emma as a newborn, impossibly tiny. The three of them at the beach, 2 summers before everything changed. He'd stopped adding new photos. The wall had become a museum of before, and he didn't know how to update it for after. His phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. Remember, 7:30, don't be late. Too many exclamation points. Too much enthusiasm. Definitely suspicious. Ethan texted back. Got it. He showered quickly, changed into clean jeans and the one button-down shirt he owned that didn't have grease stains. Emma appeared in his doorway as he was trying to decide if the shirt needed tucking in. Leave it out, she said. Yeah? Yeah, you're not going to church. When did you become a fashion consultant? I watch a lot of TV at Mrs. Chen's house. Ethan left the shirt untucked. Emma helped him pick a jacket. The gray one, not the brown one because brown was trying too hard. Then she made him show her his teeth to make sure nothing was stuck in them, and inspected his hair with the critical eye of a drill sergeant. You'll do, she finally declared. High praise. Don't mess it up. I'll try. Mom used to say trying is just planning to fail. Mom said a lot of things. She was usually right. Ooh, Ethan crouched down to Emma's level. I'll be back by 10. Mrs. Chen's number is on the fridge. If you need anything, I know, Dad. I'm 8, not 3. Almost 9. Exactly. He kissed the top of her head. She smelled like Mrs. Chen's kitchen and the strawberry shampoo she insisted on using even though it made her hair impossible to brush. Be good. Always am. That's debatable. She grinned at him, and for just a second she was pure Rachel, all mischief and light. Then the moment passed, and she was just Emma again, his weird, brilliant, terrifying daughter, who understood too much and forgave too easily. He left before he could change his mind. Salvatore's occupied a corner lot downtown, the kind of place with cloth napkins and candles on every table. Ethan had driven past it 1,000 times but never been inside. Too expensive, too formal, too everything he wasn't. He parked 3 blocks away in a public lot that charged $5 for the first hour. The walk gave him time to think, which was either good or terrible, depending on what his brain decided to do with it. Tonight, his brain decided to catalog every reason this was a bad idea. He didn't know this woman, didn't know what Sandra had told her about him, didn't know if this was genuine or some elaborate prank, didn't know if he even remembered how to have a conversation with an adult woman who wasn't his neighbor or his daughter's teacher. The restaurant windows glowed warm against the darkening street. Inside, people laughed and ate and lived lives that looked effortless from the outside. Ethan had forgotten how to do that. Or maybe he'd never known in the first place. Rachel had been the effortless one. She'd talked to strangers like they were old friends, remembered everyone's birthdays, knew exactly what to say at parties. Ethan had just stood beside her, grateful and slightly bewildered, wondering what she saw in him that made her choose him over literally anyone else. Without her, he was just a man who fixed machines and raised a daughter and didn't know how to do much else. The restaurant door felt heavier than it should when he pulled it open. Inside, warm air, the smell of garlic bread and wine, the murmur of conversation. A hostess with perfect lipstick smiled at him from behind her podium. Good evening. Do you have a reservation? I'm meeting someone, 7:30. The name might be under Lily? The hostess checked her tablet, her perfectly manicured nails scrolling down the screen. Ah, yes, your party is already seated. Table 7. Right this way. She led him through the dining room. People looked up as he passed, then away. Standard restaurant choreography. But something in the glances felt weighted, knowing. Or maybe he was paranoid. Probably paranoid. Table 7 sat near the window, tucked into a corner that offered both privacy and a clear view of the door. A woman waited there, facing the entrance, her posture straight and alert. Ethan's first thought, she looked tired. Not in an obvious way. She was put together, dark hair pulled back in a simple style, black dress that looked expensive, makeup carefully applied. But her shoulders carried tension like a physical weight, and her eyes held the particular wariness of someone bracing for disappointment. She was also, he noticed, watching the door with an intensity that didn't match a casual blind date, like she was expecting something specific to happen. The hostess gestured to the table with a practiced flourish. "Enjoy your evening." The woman, Lily presumably, looked up at him. Her eyes were brown, he noticed, dark brown, almost black in the candlelight. Ethan raised a hand in what he hoped was a friendly greeting. "Hi, I'm Ethan." She didn't respond, just looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Not unfriendly, not friendly either. Somewhere in between where people existed when they were protecting themselves from something. He tried again, stepping closer to the table. "Sorry I'm late. Work ran over and traffic was worse than I expected." Still nothing. No smile, no acknowledgement, no indication she'd heard him at all. Then she lifted her hands and began to sign. Ethan's brain caught up half a second before his mouth would have said something stupid and irreversible. She was deaf. His coworkers had set him up on a blind date with a deaf woman, without telling him. The setup crystallized in his mind with sudden, perfect clarity. They expected him to panic, to fumble, to make excuses and leave, proving once and for all that his reputation as a kind, principled man was just performance. Just an act he'd perfected to hide whatever ugliness they'd convinced themselves must be lurking underneath. This was a test, and they were watching. He didn't need to look around to confirm it, but he did anyway. There, near the bar, pretending to study their phones, Marcus and Sandra. Marcus had his camera out, angled toward their table. Sandra was barely hiding her smile. They weren't even trying to be subtle about it. Lily was still signing, slower now, her expression shifting towards something that looked like resignation. She'd done this before, Ethan realized. Been on dates where men didn't know, couldn't communicate, made excuses, and left. She was expecting him to do the same thing. She was expecting him to leave. Ethan pulled out his chair and sat down. Then he lifted his hands and signed back, "I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic was worse than I expected." Lily's eyes went wide. Her hands, which had been moving to sign something else, froze midair. For 3 full seconds, she just stared at him, her expression cycling through surprise, confusion, and something that might have been suspicion. Then her hands moved, hesitant and careful. "You know ASL?" "My mother was deaf," Ethan signed, matching her careful pace. "I grew up with it." "Your mother." Not a question, a statement, like she was testing the words. "She passed away 6 years ago. But yes, I've been signing since I was old enough to move my hands." Lily's hands dropped to her lap. She looked down at them, then back up at him, and something fundamental had shifted in her face. The wariness was still there. That didn't disappear so easily, but underneath it, genuine surprise. Real, unguarded shock. "I didn't know you could sign," she signed slowly, precisely. "They didn't tell you." She shook her head, a single sharp movement. "They didn't tell me you were deaf." Ethan signed back. This was a setup. Her signs were getting sharper now, more agitated. "Apparently." Lily's eyes cut toward the bar where Marcus and Sandra had given up any pretense of subtlety. She went very still, and Ethan watched something close off in her expression. A door slamming shut. "Did you know?" She signed, each movement precise and controlled. "Not until 30 seconds ago. They're recording us." "I noticed." "Do you want to leave?" The question hung between them. Ethan could feel Marcus and Sandra watching, waiting for exactly that. Waiting for him to make excuses, to prove them right, to confirm whatever story they'd already decided was true. He looked at Lily. Actually looked, past the careful makeup and the guarded expression, to the person underneath. Someone who'd been through this enough times to expect the worst. Someone who'd walked in here tonight believing she was helping expose a fraud, only to find herself in the middle of something else entirely. Someone who was tired of being used as a prop in other people's dramas. "Do you?" he signed. She hesitated, her hands moving slightly before she caught herself. "I don't know what's happening." "Me neither. But I'm hungry, and you already ordered bread." He nodded to the basket on the table, still untouched. "Seems like a waste to leave now." The smallest smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. Just a flicker, there and gone. "You're not what I expected." "Good or bad?" "I haven't decided yet." Fair. A waiter appeared at Ethan's elbow, menus in hand, professional smile in place. Good evening, sir. Can I get you started with something to drink? Ethan ordered water, tap, not sparkling, and asked Lily if she wanted anything. She pointed to the menu, and they worked through the options together, half in sign, half in writing on the paper placemat when signs weren't enough, or when the waiter was watching. The waiter left with their drink orders. The candle between them flickered, casting moving shadows across the white tablecloth. Can I ask you something? Lily signed. Sure. Why did you stay? Ethan thought about it, about Emma telling him to fix himself, about Marcus and Sandra watching from the bar with their phones out, waiting for him to fail, to prove their assumptions right. About Rachel, who'd once told him that the right thing was usually the hard thing, and the hard thing was usually obvious if you stopped overthinking it and just paid attention to what your gut was saying. Because leaving would have been easier, he signed carefully, and I'm tired of choosing easy. Lily studied him, her dark eyes searching his face for something. That doesn't make sense. I know, but I think I understand anyway. The waiter returned with water and a basket of breadsticks, warm and smelling like garlic and butter. They ordered chicken parmesan for him, pasta primavera for her, and when the waiter left again, Lily broke a breadstick in half and offered him a piece. Truce, she signed with one hand, the bread in the other. Were we fighting? I don't know. Were we? Ethan took the bread. I don't fight on the first date. Second date, maybe. Third date, definitely. Ambitious, assuming there will be a second date. You're right. Let me try again. He set the bread down and signed with deliberate formality. Hi, I'm Ethan Cole. I work at a manufacturing plant. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here. But you seem interesting, and I'd like to know more about you if you're willing to share. Lily's expression softened, just slightly. I'm Lily Harper. I'm a graphic designer. I live alone with a cat who hates me. And I came here tonight because someone told me it would be funny. Funny how? They said you were too good to be true. That nobody's actually that nice in real life. They wanted to prove you were faking it. By setting us up? She nodded. I was supposed to see you panic when you realized I couldn't hear you, watch you make excuses and leave. Then they'd have proof you're not actually the person you pretend to be. But I didn't panic. No, you didn't. And now? Now I don't know what to think. They sat with that for a moment. Across the restaurant, Marcus had put his phone away. Sandra was talking to him urgently, her expression confused. Whatever they'd expected to happen wasn't happening, and they didn't know how to adjust. So what do we do now? Ethan signed. I don't know. This wasn't in the plan. Maybe we don't follow the plan. What do we do instead? Ethan picked up his water glass, condensation cold against his palm. We have dinner. We talk. We see what happens when nobody's following a script. Lily lifted her own glass. They clinked them together, the soft sound lost in the ambient noise of the restaurant. To not following the plan, she signed. To not following the plan, but... The food arrived 20 minutes later, delivered by a different waiter who introduced himself as Marco and explained the specials with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely loved his job. By then, Ethan and Lily had covered the basics: where they grew up, what they did for work, how they'd ended up in this particular city instead of anywhere else. Surface-level things. Safe territory. But between the safe questions, other things emerged. Small details that accumulated into a picture. Lily had been deaf since birth. Grew up in a hearing family in Ohio that tried, not always successfully, to bridge the gap. Her parents had learned sign language, but her extended family never bothered, which meant family gatherings were exercises in isolation. She'd learned early that the world wasn't built for people like her, and that most people treated her deafness like a tragedy that needed fixing instead of a fact that needed accommodating. Dating is the worst, she signed over her pasta, which she'd been picking at more than eating. People either fetishize it, like I'm some kind of inspiration for existing, or they run away from it. Nobody just treats it like a normal thing. It is a normal thing, Ethan signed. Tell that to the last guy who brought a notepad to dinner and wrote everything down instead of looking at me. That's idiotic. That's experience. How many dates has it been? Like that? Enough to stop counting. Ethan cut his chicken, the knife scraping against the plate. My mom used to say the hearing world was built by people who forgot that sound was optional. Lily's hands paused mid-sign, her expression shifting to something more open. Your mother sounds like she was smart. She was. She also had a mean streak when people were stupid about it. Once made a grocery store clerk learn where are the tomatoes in sign before she'd tell him where she wanted to go. I like her already. She would have liked you. She had a rule about people. What rule? If they made eye contact when signing, they were worth knowing. If they didn't, they weren't. Did I pass? You haven't looked away once. Lily smiled, a real smile this time, reaching her eyes. Good to know. The conversation flowed more easily after that. Lily told him about her work, designing logos and websites for small businesses, working from home because office environments were exhausting when you had to lip read through meetings. Ethan told her about the manufacturing plant, the machines he maintained, the satisfaction of fixing something broken and watching it work again. Is that why you do it? Lily signed. The fixing? Partly. Also because I'm good at it and it pays well enough to support Emma. Can I ask about your daughter? The question landed like it always did, half expected, still carrying weight. Emma. She's 8. She's smarter than me and knows it. Most 8-year-olds are smarter than their parents. This is objectively true, but Emma is especially smart in ways that are sometimes terrifying. Like what? Like she can read people better than most adults. She knows when I'm pretending to be okay. Calls me out on it every time. Where's her mother? The question Ethan had been waiting for. The one that always came up eventually. She died 3 years ago. Cancer. Lily's expression shifted immediately, sympathy flooding her features. I'm sorry. Me too. That must be impossibly hard, raising her alone. It's the only part that makes sense anymore, Ethan signed, the movement's automatic, honest. Everything else feels like I'm faking it. Work, conversations, this. He gestured between them. All of it feels like I'm playing a role, but with Emma, I know exactly who I'm supposed to be. Even this? You feel like you're faking this? He met her eyes. Especially this. Why? Because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to sit across from someone and pretend I'm a person who goes on dates and has his life together and knows what he's doing. I know how to change oil and help with homework and make sure Emma eats vegetables. That's it. That's all I've got. Lily set down her fork, giving him her full attention. That's more than most people have. It doesn't feel like it. Feelings are liars. Ethan blinked. What? Feelings are liars, she signed again, more emphatically. They tell you you're not enough when you are. They tell you you're failing when you're not. They're useful sometimes, but mostly they just get in the way of seeing what's actually true. Where'd you learn that? Therapy. Years of it. Still going every other week. Did it work? I'm here, aren't I? On a setup date that I knew was meant to humiliate someone, talking to a stranger instead of running away. Is that progress? My therapist thinks so. I'm still undecided. What would convince you? Lily tilted her head, considering. Ask me at the end of the night. They talked through the rest of dinner, then dessert, tiramisu that they split because Lily insisted and Ethan didn't have the energy to argue. The restaurant filled and emptied around them, the crowd shifting from early diners to late-night couples. Marcus and Sandra had left at some point, their trap sprung and failed. Ethan hadn't noticed exactly when. He'd been too focused on Lily, the way her hands moved when she was excited about something, how she bit her lower lip when she was thinking, the small laugh she made that he could see but not hear. He found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in months, maybe years. Lily was sharp and funny and didn't bullshit. She called him out when he dodged questions, pushed back when he tried to deflect with humor, demanded actual answers instead of polite deflections. She also understood silence in a way most people didn't. When the conversation paused, really paused, not just stopped for breath, she didn't rush to fill it, just sat with it, comfortable in the quiet that wasn't really quiet for her because it never had been. Can I tell you something? She signed as Marco cleared their dessert plates. Sure. I almost didn't come tonight. Why not? Because I knew it was a setup. I knew it was supposed to be mean-spirited. And I came anyway because I wanted to see if they were right. About me? About people in general. about whether anyone actually means what they say or if everyone's just performing all the time. And? She looked at him for a long moment, her dark eyes serious. I don't know yet, but I'm starting to think maybe they're not all liars. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. Emma, texting from Mrs. Chen's iPad. Are you having fun? He typed back, Yeah, actually I am. Good. Don't mess it up. I'll try not to. Trying is just planning to fail. Do or don't. When did you start quoting Yoda? Mrs. Chen has all the Star Wars movies. We're on Empire. Don't change the subject. Ethan smiled and pocketed his phone. When he looked up, Lily was watching him with curiosity. Your daughter? She signed. Giving me dating advice. Smart kid. Too smart. It's concerning. Is that possible? You haven't met her. Lily's expression turned thoughtful, almost tentative. Would I? Meet her? The question caught him off guard. Not the words themselves, but the vulnerability underneath them. Do you want to? I don't know, maybe. If this goes anywhere. Does it go anywhere? I don't know that either. Ethan signed slowly, giving himself time to choose the words carefully. What do you know? Lily's hands moved with equal care, each sign deliberate. I know this wasn't what I expected. I know you're either the best actor I've ever met, or you're actually this person, and I know I'd like to find out which one is true. How do we do that? We see each other again. No setups, no recordings, no people watching to see if you're real, just us. When? When are you free? Ethan thought about his schedule. Work Monday through Friday, Emma's soccer on Saturday mornings. The endless logistics of single parenthood. Saturday afternoon, Emma has soccer from 9 to 11. After that, I'm open until whenever. There's a farmer's market on 4th Street. Opens at noon. Meet me there? Okay. Okay. Marco returned with the check. They split it over Ethan's protests. Lily insisted, signing firmly that she wasn't some damsel who needed him to pay for everything. They argued about it good-naturedly for 3 minutes before settling on each paying half plus tip. Outside, the night had cooled considerably. Stars were barely visible through the city light pollution, just faint suggestions of brightness. The street was quieter now, most shops closed, just the restaurant still glowing warm. I'll walk you to your car, Ethan signed. You don't have to. I know. I want to. They walked in comfortable silence for a block and a half. Lily's car was parked near the park, a small blue sedan with a dent in the back bumper and a parking ticket tucked under the wiper blade. Shit, Lily said out loud, one of the few words she'd spoken all night, and grabbed the ticket. She signed, Meter ran out. How much? She showed him, $35. That's criminal. That's downtown parking enforcement. She unlocked her car but didn't get in immediately. Just stood there, the door open, looking at him in the dim streetlight. Thank you, she signed. For what? For staying, for talking, for not making this weird. It was a little weird, Ethan signed. Weird good or weird bad? Weird good. I'll see you Saturday. Saturday, noon, 4th Street. Don't be late. Wouldn't dream of it. She smiled one more time, then got in her car. Ethan stood there watching her pull out of the parking spot, watching her taillights disappear around the corner, trying to process what had just happened. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Dude, what the hell was that? Ethan typed back. A date. You weren't supposed to actually connect with her. Why not? Because it was supposed to prove you're full of shit, that your whole nice guy thing is an act. Sorry to disappoint. We need to talk Monday. Looking forward to it. I'm serious. This wasn't the plan. Maybe the plan was stupid. He pocketed his phone before Marcus could respond and walked to his car. The night felt different than when it started, lighter, maybe. Less like he was faking his way through life and more like he was actually living it. The drive home took 15 minutes. Mrs. Chen's house was dark except for the living room light. He knocked softly, and she answered in her bathrobe, reading glasses perched on her nose. How was it? She whispered. Good, Ethan said. Really good. Will you see her again? Saturday. Mrs. Chen smiled, the kind of smile that said she knew more than she was saying. Good. You deserve good things, Ethan. Emma was asleep on the couch, sprawled across the cushions with her mouth open and one arm hanging off the edge. Ethan scooped her up carefully. She mumbled something about Ewoks and buried her face against his shoulder. Thanks again, he whispered to Mrs. Chen. Any time. She's always welcome. He carried Emma to the car, buckled her in, and drove the 2 blocks home. She woke up just enough to walk inside and stumble to her room. Did you mess it up? She asked, half asleep. I don't think so. Good. She was asleep again before he could say anything else. Ethan stood in her doorway for a minute, watching her sleep. Rachel's face in miniature, breathing steady and sure. The most important thing in his life, the only thing he was absolutely sure he couldn't mess up. You'd like her, he thought, sending the words to wherever Rachel was, if she was anywhere. I think you'd really like her. Somewhere across the city, Lily was probably home, maybe thinking the same things. Or maybe not. Maybe she was already regretting it, already pulling back, already remembering all the reasons keeping people at a distance was safer. He'd find out Saturday. For now, this was enough. This small, strange, unexpected thing. This possibility that maybe, just maybe, good things could still happen if you stopped running from them. Ethan checked the locks, turned off the lights, and went to bed. For the first time in 3 years, he fell asleep thinking about tomorrow instead of yesterday. Monday morning hit like a hammer. Ethan arrived at Morrison and Hale at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, like always. The parking lot was half empty, just the early shift guys and the office staff who came in before dawn to get ahead of emails. His truck made its usual ticking sound as the engine cooled, a rhythmic ping that would stop in about 3 minutes. He sat there for 2 of those minutes, staring at the building, knowing what was waiting inside. Marcus's text from Saturday night had been followed by 3 more on Sunday, each one progressively less friendly. We need to talk. Seriously, man. This is important. Don't ignore me. Ethan had ignored him anyway. Spent Saturday at the farmer's market with Lily, then Sunday helping Emma build a volcano for her science project that exploded all over the kitchen table. He'd deal with work drama when work started, not before. Now work had started. He grabbed his lunch bag, leftover spaghetti Emma had insisted on packing for him, and headed inside. The production floor was quiet this early, just the hum of machines running their warm-up cycles and the smell of coffee from the break room. Sandra was waiting by his locker. We need to talk, she said. I'm getting that impression. The office, now. I just got here. Now, Ethan. He'd never heard her use that tone before. Sharp, authoritative, nothing like the bubbly receptionist voice she usually deployed. Something had shifted over the weekend, and whatever it wasn't good. Ethan followed her through the production floor to the administrative offices. A few early arrivals watched them pass, curious but not concerned. Just another day, just another meeting. Sandra led him to a small conference room he'd been in exactly twice. Once for his initial interview, once for a safety training that everyone slept through. Marcus was already there, sitting at the table with his arms crossed. Jennifer sat beside him, her expression unreadable. And at the head of the table, David Chen, the plant manager. Mrs. Chen's nephew, coincidentally, though he'd gotten the job on merit, not connections. Sit down, Ethan, David said. Ethan sat. What's this about? What do you think it's about? Marcus said. Marcus, let me handle this. David opened a folder in front of him. We have a situation that needs addressing. A situation. Friday night, Salvatore's restaurant. You were there on a date arranged by Sandra and Marcus. That's correct? And you were aware this was a setup? Ethan looked at Sandra, then Marcus, then back to David. Not until I got there and saw them recording me, no. Sandra shifted in her seat. Jennifer wouldn't meet his eyes. They claim, David continued, that you were informed this was a casual social experiment, that you agreed to participate. That's bullshit, Ethan said flatly. Language, Sandra said. No, that's bullshit and you know it. Marcus asked me to go on a blind date 17 times. You ambushed me in the parking lot and told me it would be good for me to get out more. Nobody said anything about experiments or setups or recording anything. You're saying you had no knowledge of the arrangement? David asked. I knew it was a blind date. I knew her name was Lily. That's it. Marcus leaned forward. And you just happen to know sign language? My mother was deaf. I've known sign language since I was 2 years old. Convenient. It's my life, Marcus. Not everything is a conspiracy. Jennifer finally spoke up, her voice quiet. Did you know she was deaf before you got there? No. You're sure? Yes, I'm sure. Why would I lie about that? Because, Sandra said, her voice tight, it makes us look bad. The silence that followed was heavy enough to feel. Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. That's what this is about? You set up an elaborate trap to humiliate me, it backfired, and now you're worried about how it makes you look? It wasn't meant to humiliate you, Marcus said. What was it meant to do? Prove a point. What point? Marcus hesitated. That nobody's as perfect as you pretend to be. Ethan stared at him. I don't pretend to be perfect. You act like it. Mr. Nice Guy, never complains, never gossips, always helpful. It's not normal. So you decided to test me? We decided to see if it was real. By setting me up with a deaf woman without telling me, recording the whole thing, and waiting for me to fail? When you put it like that, how else should I put it? David held up a hand. Gentlemen, this isn't productive. He looked at Ethan. For what it's worth, I think what they did was inappropriate and unprofessional. However, I need to understand what happened next. I had dinner with her. We talked. I walked her to her car. I went home. And you're seeing her again? Saturday. Why does that matter? Because, David said carefully, there's been a complaint. Ethan's stomach dropped. From who? Lily Harper filed a complaint with HR this morning. The world tilted slightly. What? David turned the folder around so Ethan could see. Official company letterhead, a printed email. Lily's name at the bottom. Ethan's eyes scanned the text, his brain struggling to process the words. I was coerced into participating in a setup designed to humiliate an employee of Morrison and Hale Manufacturing. I was told this employee, Ethan Cole, was a fraud who needed to be exposed. I was not informed he knew sign language. I was not told I was being recorded. I felt manipulated and used. I am filing this complaint to ensure this behavior is addressed and does not happen to anyone else. She didn't mention me, Ethan said quietly. No, David agreed. She mentioned them. He nodded toward Marcus and Sandra. Sandra's face had gone pale. She agreed to help us. Did she? David asked. Or did you convince her she was doing something good? Did you tell her Ethan was a bad person who needed exposing? Did you make her feel like she was helping? It wasn't like that, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its edge. Then what was it like? Nobody answered. David closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus, Sandra, Jennifer, you're all suspended pending a full investigation. 2 weeks, unpaid. If HR determines this violated company harassment policies, termination is on the table. You can't be serious, Sandra said. I'm completely serious. You used company resources, company time, company relationships, to orchestrate a scheme targeting another employee. The fact that it backfired doesn't make it less serious. We were just what? Just testing him? Just proving a point? Just having fun? David's voice was colder than Ethan had ever heard it. You involved an outside party without full disclosure. You recorded someone without consent. You created a hostile work environment. Take your pick. Jennifer stood up. I didn't do anything. I just watched. You participated by not stopping it. That's culpability. She sat back down. David looked at Ethan. You can go. I'll need a full statement later, but for now, get to work. Ethan stood, his legs feeling unsteady. What about Lily? What about her? Is she okay? Did she say anything else? David's expression softened slightly. She said the date was fine. Said you were respectful. She just wanted to make sure we knew what had happened. Can I have her contact information? You already have it, don't you? I want to make sure I can reach her. The information in the complaint is just her email. If you want more than that, you'll have to ask her yourself. Ethan nodded and left the conference room. Behind him, Sandra started crying. Marcus was saying something angry and defensive. Jennifer remained silent. He walked back to his locker, stored his lunch, and started his shift. The machines didn't care about drama. They just needed maintenance, calibration, and someone who paid attention. He could do that. He was good at that. His phone buzzed around 10 a.m., a text from an unknown number. "This is Lily. Got your number from the restaurant reservation. Hope that's not creepy." He typed back, "Not creepy. Are you okay?" "Fine. You?" Confused. "About?" "The complaint." "You didn't have to do that." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Yes, I did. Why?" "Because what they did was wrong, and because I don't let people get away with using me. Fair." "Are you mad?" "No, surprised." "Good surprised or bad surprised?" "Still deciding. Let me know when you figure it out." "Will do." Another pause. Then, "Still on for Saturday?" Ethan smiled despite everything. "Absolutely." "Good. I'll meet you by the flower stand at noon. See you there." He pocketed his phone and got back to work. Around him, word was spreading about the suspensions. People whispered, speculated, took sides. Some thought Marcus and Sandra had gone too far. Others thought Ethan must have done something to deserve it. A few didn't care either way. Drama was drama, and it made the day go faster. Ethan ignored all of it. Fixed a hydraulic leak on press 6, recalibrated the temperature sensors on the injection molder. Helped a new guy troubleshoot a jam in the conveyor system. By lunch, his hands were dirty and his mind was clear. He ate his spaghetti in the break room alone. Most people were giving him space, unsure how to approach him. He didn't mind. Space was good. Space meant he could think. His phone rang. Mrs. Chen. "Hi," he answered. "David called me," she said without preamble. "Of course he did. Are you all right?" "I'm fine." "Are you actually fine, or are you pretending to be fine?" "Little bit of both." Emma's worried. Why is Emma worried? She doesn't know anything. She heard me talking to David. She has excellent hearing. That's not reassuring. Do you want me to tell her anything specific? Tell her I'm fine and everything's handled and she should focus on school. She won't believe that. I know. Tell her anyway. Mrs. Chen sighed. You're impossible. It's been mentioned. Will you still see this woman? Lily. That's the plan. Good. She sounds smart. Filing that complaint took courage. She's something, all right. Don't mess it up, Ethan. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. She hung up before he could respond. Ethan finished his spaghetti and went back to work. The afternoon passed in a blur of routine tasks and careful avoidance of eye contact with anyone who looked like they wanted to talk about the drama. At 5 p.m., he clocked out and drove to pick up Emma from after-school care. She was waiting outside with her backpack, talking to another kid about something animated. Hey, kiddo, he said as she climbed into the truck. Mrs. Chen says you're in trouble at work. Mrs. Chen talks too much. Are you? Not the kind of trouble you're thinking of. What kind, then? The kind where other people did something stupid and I got caught in the middle. Emma buckled her seatbelt. Did it have to do with your date? How do you know about my date? Dad, I'm 8, not stupid. Almost 9. Exactly. So what happened? Ethan pulled out of the parking lot and headed home. Some people at work set up the date as a test. They wanted to see if I was actually nice or just pretending. That's mean. Yeah. What happened? I passed the test. They got in trouble. Good. Emma. What? They should get in trouble. They were mean. It's more complicated than that. Why? Because work is complicated. People are complicated. You're not complicated. I'm the most complicated person you know. She considered this. Okay, that's true. But you're not mean complicated. You're just sad complicated. The observation hit harder than it should have. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just notice now. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Emma fiddled with the radio, settling on a pop station that made Ethan's teeth hurt. He let her keep it anyway. Are you going to see her again? Emma asked. The woman from the date? Saturday. Do I get to meet her? Eventually, maybe. When's eventually? When I figure out if she actually likes me or if she's just being polite. How will you know? No idea. Mom always said you were bad at reading people. Your mother was correct about many things. Emma turned down the radio. I think you should introduce me soon. Why? Because I can tell if people are faking. You can't. That's a disturbing skill for an 8-year-old. Almost 9, and it's useful. Tyler from school tried to convince me his dad invented the internet. I knew he was lying because he wouldn't look at me when he said it. Did you call him out? Obviously. Then I explained how the internet was actually invented. He said I was annoying. You are annoying. I'm thorough. Ethan smiled despite himself. Yes, you are. At home, Emma disappeared into her room to work on homework while Ethan started dinner. Nothing fancy, grilled chicken, rice, frozen vegetables, the kind of meal that was healthy enough to satisfy his conscience and easy enough to make while his brain was elsewhere. His phone buzzed. Lily again. Question, answer. Are you okay with me filing that complaint? Yes. You're not mad? No. You did the right thing. Even though it might make things weird for you at work, things were already weird. This just made it official. Okay. Good. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you do it? The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, because I'm tired of people thinking they can use me, and because you didn't deserve what they were trying to do. Thank you. You're welcome. See you Saturday. Looking forward to it. Ethan set his phone down and focused on not burning the chicken. Emma emerged from her room around 6:30, announced she'd finished her homework and it was definitely correct, even though she hadn't checked it, and set the table without being asked. They ate dinner together, Emma talking about a girl named Sophie who'd brought her pet hamster to show and tell and accidentally dropped it, causing a classroom-wide hamster hunt that lasted 20 minutes. Did you find it? Ethan asked. Eventually. It was in the reading corner eating someone's bookmark. Resourceful hamster. Sophie named it Einstein. I think that's optimistic. After dinner, Emma helped clean up. Then they watched an episode of a nature documentary about deep-sea creatures. Emma provided running commentary about which ones were cool and which ones were nightmare fuel. The giant squid fell into the latter category. At 8:30, Ethan sent her to brush her teeth and get ready for bed. She complied with minimal arguing, which meant she was actually tired even if she wouldn't admit it. He tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. Dad? She said in the darkness. Yeah? I'm glad your date went well. Me too, kiddo. Even with all the drama? Even with all the drama. Good. You deserve good things. Mrs. Chen said the same thing. Mrs. Chen is smart. She is. Night, Dad. Night, Em. Ethan closed her door and stood in the hallway for a moment, listening to her settle in. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic. He should have felt stressed. 3 people suspended because of him. A woman he barely knew filing complaints on his behalf. Work drama that would follow him for weeks, maybe months. Instead, he felt oddly calm. Oddly, maybe because for the first time in 3 years, something had happened that wasn't about loss or grief or just getting through the day. Something had happened that was about moving forward, even if he didn't know where forward led. His phone buzzed one more time. Lily. Random thought. I'm listening. This whole situation is completely insane. Agreed. And yet I'm still excited about Saturday. Also agreed. Good. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. We are. Okay. Go do whatever people do on Monday nights. Watch mediocre TV and fall asleep on the couch? Perfect. Talk tomorrow? Sure. Night, Ethan. Night, Lily. He did exactly what he'd said, turned on the TV, found something forgettable, and dozed off around 10 p.m. When he woke up at midnight with a stiff neck, he dragged himself to bed and fell asleep properly. Tuesday was quieter. The suspensions had been processed, and Marcus, Sandra, and Jennifer were gone. The rumor mill had moved on to other things. Someone's car got keyed in the parking lot. The vending machine was out of Coke again, the usual. Ethan worked his shift, ate lunch alone, went home. Emma had soccer practice, which he watched from the bleachers while responding to occasional texts from Lily. Nothing deep, just small talk, jokes, observations about their respective days. It felt normal, easy. like they'd been doing this for months instead of days. Wednesday, David called him back to the office. This time, it was just the two of them. HR finished their preliminary investigation, David said. And? Marcus and Sandra are being terminated. Jennifer is getting a formal reprimand and mandatory training on workplace conduct. That seems harsh. Does it? I don't want people losing their jobs over this. David leaned back in his chair. Ethan, they used company time and resources to orchestrate a scheme targeting you. They involved an outside party under false pretenses. They recorded you without consent. Any one of those things is fireable. All three together? It's not harsh, it's appropriate. Jennifer barely did anything. Jennifer participated by watching and not stopping it. She gets leniency because she cooperated fully with the investigation. The other two didn't. What did they say? Marcus said you must have known sign language beforehand and planned the whole thing. Sandra said Lily was overreacting and the complaint was revenge for the date not going how she wanted. Ethan closed his eyes. That's delusional. That's what HR said. Look, I know you don't want this, but sometimes consequences happen whether we want them or not. Will this affect their ability to get other jobs? Probably. They'll have termination for cause on their records. But that's their problem, not yours. Feels like my problem. It's not. You didn't do this, they did. Plus me, Ethan nodded, not because he agreed, but because arguing wouldn't change anything. One more thing, David said. The owner wants to meet with you. Why? Because this made it all the way to corporate, and he wants to make sure you're okay. Also probably to make sure you're not planning to sue. I'm not planning to sue. Tell him that yourself. Friday, 2 p.m., corporate office downtown. Do I have a choice? Not really. Great. Ethan left the office and went back to work. The rest of the week passed in a similar blur. Work, home, Emma, texts from Lily that made him smile despite everything. Thursday night, Emma asked if she could invite Sophie over for a play date. The one with the escape artist hamster? Ethan asked. Einstein is fine now. Sophie's mom got him a better cage. Is Sophie going to bring Einstein? No, she learned her lesson. Then sure, this weekend? Saturday? I have plans Saturday. Emma's eyes lit up. Your date? Yes. Where are you going? Farmer's market. Boring. You've never been to a farmer's market. Still sounds boring. I'll bring you back something interesting. Like what? I don't know. A vegetable? I take it back. Don't bring me anything. Friday came. Ethan took a half day, drove downtown, and found the corporate office in a glass tower that looked exactly like every other glass tower. The owner, Richard Morrison, met him in a conference room with a view of the city. Mr. Cole, Morrison said, shaking his hand, thank you for coming. Didn't feel like I had much choice. Morrison smiled. Fair. Sit, please. They sat. Morrison was in his 60s, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of handshake that said he'd worked with his hands before he worked behind a desk. I want to apologize, Morrison said. For what? For what happened, the setup, the recording, all of it. It's unacceptable, and it happened on my watch. You didn't know about it. Doesn't matter. It happened at my company involving my employees. That makes it my responsibility. Okay. I also want to make sure you're not planning any legal action. There it was. I'm not. You'd have grounds. I know, but I don't want to. I just want to move on. Morrison studied him. You're an unusual person, Mr. Cole. So I've been told. Your employee file is exemplary, perfect attendance, excellent performance reviews, never a complaint. David says you're the best maintenance tech he's ever worked with. David's nephew is married to my babysitter. He might be biased. He's not. I checked with your supervisors. They all say the same thing. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to offer you a promotion. Ethan blinked. What? Senior maintenance technician. 20% raise, better benefits. Your own team. Interested? Is this because you feel guilty? Partly. Also, because you're good at your job and we need good people in leadership. I'm not a leader. You help new employees without being asked. You train people on equipment during your breaks. You cover shifts when people are sick. That's leadership. That's just being decent. Exactly. We need more of that. Morrison slid a folder across the table. Think about it. No pressure. But the offer stands. Ethan took the folder without opening it. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. They shook hands again and Ethan left. The drive home felt surreal, like he'd stepped into someone else's life for an hour and was now returning to his own. Emma was at Mrs. Chen's. He picked her up, made dinner, and spent the evening not thinking about promotions or corporate offices or any of it. Tomorrow was Saturday. Tomorrow was Lily. That was enough to focus on for now. He fell asleep early, exhausted from a week that felt like a month, and dreamed of farmers markets and sign language and a woman with dark eyes who'd filed a complaint because someone needed to. When he woke up Saturday morning, Emma was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table eating cereal and reading a book about sharks. Big day, she said without looking up. Is it? Your second date? Technically third, if we're counting. We're not. First one doesn't count because it was a setup. Fair point. Don't mess it up. I'm getting that tattooed on my arm at this point. Emma finally looked up. Do you like her? I think so. You think so? I don't know her that well yet. But you want to? Yeah, I do. Emma smiled. Good. Mom would approve. The words hit him square in the chest, gentle and devastating. You think? I know. She told me once that you'd probably be alone forever if someone didn't force you out of your shell. She'd like that someone's doing it. Lily's not forcing me anywhere. Isn't she? Ethan didn't have an answer for that. Emma went back to her sharks. He made coffee and tried not to overthink everything. At 8:45, he drove Emma to soccer practice, watched her run drills for 2 hours, and then headed downtown to the farmer's market. Lily was waiting by the flower stand, exactly like she'd said, and for the first time all week, everything else fell away. She wore jeans and a green sweater, her hair down this time instead of pulled back. The flower stand behind her overflowed with dahlias and sunflowers, their colors almost aggressive in the late morning light. She was looking at her phone when Ethan approached, and when she glanced up, her face did something complicated. Relief mixed with nervousness, mixed with something else he couldn't name. You came? She signed. Did you think I wouldn't? I thought maybe the week would change your mind. It was an interesting week. That's one word for it. They stood there for a moment, neither quite sure how to bridge the gap between texting and actually being in the same space again. The market buzzed around them. Families with strollers, couples holding hands, vendors calling out about fresh bread and organic honey. Are you hungry? Ethan signed. Starving. There's a crepe stand 2 rows over. They're supposed to be good. Lead the way. They walked through the market side by side, not quite touching, but close enough that their arms occasionally brushed. Lily stopped at a stand selling handmade soap, picked up a bar that smelled like lavender, put it back down. Ethan waited, watching her process, not rushing. Sorry, she signed. I get distracted easily. It's fine. We have time. Do we? I don't have to pick up Emma until 3. 4 hours. Give or take. That's enough time to mess this up spectacularly. Ethan smiled. Or enough time to not mess it up at all. Optimist. Realist. The crepe stand had a line, which Lily said was a good sign. They waited their turn, Lily signing about her week, a difficult client who kept changing their logo design, her cat knocking over a plant at 2 in the morning, the satisfaction of filing the complaint and knowing it would actually matter. Do you regret it? Ethan signed. The complaint? No. Do you regret that I filed it? No. But 2 people lost their jobs. 2 people orchestrated a cruel scheme and faced consequences. That's not your fault. Feels like it is. Feelings are liars, remember? You use that line a lot. Because it's true a lot. They ordered crepes, Nutella and strawberries for her, ham and cheese for him. Found a bench near the fountain and ate in comfortable silence, watching people pass. A kid dropped his ice cream and started crying. His mother bought him another one. A dog strained at its leash, desperate to reach the pigeons scattered across the pavement. Can I ask you something? Lily signed, setting down her half-eaten crepe. Sure. Why did you actually stay at the restaurant? I told you because leaving would have been easier. That's not a real answer. It's the only answer I have. She looked at him, her dark eyes searching. Try harder. Ethan set down his own food and thought about it. Really thought about it, instead of deflecting or making a joke. Because I saw you expecting me to leave, and I was tired of being the person people expected me to be. What person is that? The sad widower who keeps his head down and doesn't make waves. The guy who's just getting through the day. The one everyone pities but nobody really knows. And Stain was different. Stain was choosing something instead of just accepting what was handed to me. Lily picked up her crepe again, took a small bite, chewed thoughtfully. That's a better answer. Glad you approve. I don't approve. I just understand. Is there a difference? Always. They finished eating and walked deeper into the market. Lily bought a small succulent from a plant vendor, insisted on paying even when Ethan offered. At a stand selling vintage books, she found a collection of short stories and flipped through it with the kind of focus that suggested she'd forgotten he was there. Ethan didn't mind. He liked watching her get absorbed in things. It felt honest in a way most interactions didn't. Do you read a lot? He signed when she finally looked up. Constantly. It's easier than TV. No captions to screw up. What do you like? Science fiction, mystery, anything that takes me somewhere else. Away from here. Away from here. Is here that bad? She considered the question. Not bad. Just lonely sometimes. I get that. Do you? More than you'd think. Lily bought the book. They moved on to a stand selling fresh bread, another selling homemade jam. Ethan bought a loaf of sourdough because Emma had been asking about trying new things, and jam because, why not? You're a good dad, Lily signed as they walked away. How do you know? You think about her even when she's not here. That counts for something. It's the bare minimum. The bare minimum is more than a lot of people manage. They found another bench. This one in the shade of a large oak tree. Lily sat with her legs tucked under her, the book balanced on her knee. Ethan sat with his back against the bench, the bread and jam in a bag at his feet. Tell me about her, Lily signed. Emma? What do you want to know? Everything, nothing. Whatever you want to share. Ethan leaned back and thought about how to explain Emma to someone who'd never met her. She's 8, almost 9, as she constantly reminds me. She's smart in a way that's sometimes terrifying. She reads people better than I do. She's funny without trying to be. She misses her mom but doesn't talk about it much because she thinks it makes me sad. Does it? Of course. But not for the reasons she thinks. What reasons then? Because she shouldn't have to protect me from her grief. That's backwards. Lily's expression softened. You can't control what she feels responsible for. I know, doesn't make it easier. Nothing about parenting is easy. You sound like you know from experience. I don't. But I watch people. I see things. Like what? Like the way you talk about Emma, like you're proud and terrified in equal measure. That's accurate. Most parents are. The ones who care, anyway. A woman walked past with a golden retriever that pulled toward Lily, tail wagging. She reached out automatically, letting the dog sniff her hand before scratching behind its ears. The woman smiled and moved on. You like dogs? Ethan signed. Love them. Can't have one. My apartment doesn't allow it. That's unfortunate. What about you? Emma wants one. I keep saying maybe next year. Why not now? Because a dog is one more thing to take care of when I'm barely managing everything else. Feelings are liars. Ethan laughed out loud, the sound surprising him. You can't just use that for everything. Watch me. They sat there for a while, not talking, just existing in the same space. It was comfortable in a way that made Ethan nervous because comfortable meant he could get used to it, and getting used to things meant risking loss. But Lily didn't seem nervous. She seemed content, flipping through her book, occasionally glancing up to watch the market traffic. Can I tell you something? Ethan signed eventually. Always. This is the most relaxed I've felt in 3 years. Lily looked up from her book. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet. Let me know when you figure it out. That's my line. I'm stealing it. His phone buzzed. Emma, texting from Mrs. Chen's again. How's it going? Good. Just good? Really good. Are you being weird? Probably. Stop it. I'll try. Mom's watching. Don't disappoint her. Ethan stared at the text for a long moment. Emma had never said anything like that before. Never invoked Rachel's hypothetical approval. It felt significant, though he couldn't articulate why. Emma? Lily signed, noticing his expression. Yeah, checking in. She sounds protective. She is, but also weirdly pushy. Good combination. Is it? Means she cares. They left the market around 1:30, walking slowly toward the parking area. Lily's car was parked 3 blocks away, in a lot that charged by the hour. Ethan's truck was in the opposite direction. Do you have to go? Lily signed when they reached the point where their paths would diverge. I should. Emma's soccer ends at 3. Right. But I don't want to. Lily smiled. Then don't. What? Pick her up. Bring her back. Let me meet her. Ethan's brain stuttered. Now? Why not? Because it's soon. Because she's 8. Because what if this doesn't work out? What if it does? Lily, I'm not asking to be her new mom. I'm asking to meet the person who's important to you. There's a difference. She's going to ask a million questions. I like questions. She's going to judge you. Kids are good judges. What if she doesn't like you? Then we'll deal with it. But hiding me from her forever isn't a plan. It's been 2 weeks. Exactly. We're overdue. Ethan looked at her. This woman who'd filed complaints and bought books and sat on benches like it was the most natural thing in the world. You're serious. Completely. Okay? Okay. Okay, I'll bring her back here. Give me an hour. I'll be at the coffee shop on 5th, the one with the blue awning. I know it. See you then. Lily walked toward her car, and Ethan walked toward his truck, his mind racing. This was insane. Too fast. Too much. Emma would either love it or hate it, and either way, it would mean something. He drove to the soccer field on autopilot. Emma was waiting with her gear bag, talking to Sophie about something that involved a lot of hand gestures. Hey, Dad, she said, climbing into the truck. You're early. Practice ended early. No, it didn't. You're 12 minutes early. You timed it? Sophie has a watch. Of course she did. How was practice? Fine. I scored 3 goals during scrimmage. Tyler said it didn't count because we weren't playing for real. I told him everything counts if you're paying attention. That's very philosophical. That's very true. Emma buckled her seatbelt. Why are you being weird? I'm not being weird. You're doing the thing where you tap the steering wheel. You only do that when you're nervous. Ethan stopped tapping. I want you to meet someone. Emma went very still. The woman, Lily. Yes. Now? If you're okay with it. Where? Coffee shop on 5th. Is she there now? Yes. Emma processed this. Did you plan this? No, she suggested it. I said yes. Do you want me to meet her, or are you doing this because she wants it? Both. Good answer. Emma adjusted her ponytail. Do I have time to change? You look fine. I'm wearing soccer clothes. I smell like grass. You smell like effort. It's fine. Dad, Emma, she's not going to judge you for wearing soccer clothes. You don't know that. I know her well enough to know that. Do you? The question landed heavy. Ethan thought about it. 2 dates, a week of texts, a shared understanding of what it meant to exist on the margins. Was that knowing someone, or just knowing pieces? I know enough, he said finally. Okay. Okay? Okay. Let's go. Ethan drove to 5th Street, parked in the lot behind the coffee shop, and tried to remember how to breathe normally. Emma climbed out of the truck, brushed grass off her shorts, and looked at him expectantly. Ready? He asked. Are you? No? Good. Me neither. They walked into the coffee shop together. It was crowded, weekend afternoon rush, people lingering over laptops and books. Lily sat at a corner table near the window, her back to them, typing on her phone. Ethan tapped her shoulder. She turned, saw him, then saw Emma. Her expression cycled through surprise and something that might have been panic before settling on a careful smile. Hi, she signed. Emma stared at her hands, then looked up at Ethan. She's talking with her hands. It's called sign language. Remember when I told you about Grandma? Yeah, but I've never seen anyone actually do it. Lily was watching Emma with the kind of careful attention that suggested she was used to being stared at. She signed something slow and deliberate. What did she say? Emma asked. She said her name is Lily, and it's nice to meet you. Can you teach me how to say hi? Ethan showed her the sign. Emma copied it, clumsy but earnest. Lily's smile became more genuine. They sat down, Ethan and Emma on one side of the table, Lily on the other. A waitress came by and they ordered drinks. Hot chocolate for Emma, coffee for Ethan, tea for Lily. She looks like you, Lily signed to Ethan. She looks like her mother. She has your eyes. That's the only thing she got from me. Emma watched them sign back and forth, her expression intense. What are you saying? She said you look like me. I said you look like your mom. I look like both of you. That's how genetics work. Lily laughed. Ethan could see it, even if he couldn't hear it. She signed something to Emma, slow and clear. What did she say? Emma asked again. She said you're smart. I know. She also said you have grass in your hair. Emma's hand flew to her head. Where? Lily pointed. Emma pulled out a small piece of turf and scowled. I told you I should have changed. She's funny, Lily signed to Ethan. She's something. Their drinks arrived. Emma dumped half a container of whipped cream into her hot chocolate and stirred it with intense focus. Lily sipped her tea. Ethan tried not to look like he was monitoring everything for signs of disaster. Can I ask you something? Emma said to Lily. Lily nodded. How do you do things? Like order coffee or talk on the phone? Ethan started to intervene, but Lily held up a hand. She pulled out her phone, opened the Notes app, and typed, I read lips when people face me. I use text for phone calls. And I order coffee by pointing at the menu. Emma read it. That seems harder than just talking. It is, but it's what I have. Do you wish you could hear? Ethan winced. But Lily was already typing. Sometimes, but mostly I just wish other people knew how to communicate better. Emma considered this. That makes sense. Most people are bad at communication. My dad's the worst. Hey, Ethan said. It's true. You never tell me when you're sad. I have to figure it out. Lily looked at Ethan, eyebrows raised. He signed, She's not wrong. I like her. She's terrifying. Also true. They stayed at the coffee shop for an hour. Emma asked 1,000 questions, most of which Lily answered patiently through a combination of typing and having Ethan translate her signs. She asked about Lily's cat, a tabby named Miso who hated everyone. She asked about graphic design, which Lily explained by showing Emma her portfolio on her phone. She asked if Lily had ever been to a soccer game. Not really, Lily typed, but I'd like to. You should come to mine. I score a lot of goals. I heard. Your dad told me. Emma looked at Ethan. You talk about me? Sometimes. What do you say? That you're smart and funny and slightly terrifying. Good. Around 4:30, Emma announced she was hungry. Lily suggested pizza, which Emma immediately approved. They walked 3 blocks to a place that made wood-fired pizza and had outdoor seating. Emma sat next to Lily instead of next to Ethan, which felt significant. She asked Lily to teach her more signs. Please, thank you, pizza, soccer. Lily complied, correcting Emma's hand shapes with the patience of someone who'd taught this before. Why did my grandma stop signing? Emma asked suddenly. Ethan tensed. That's not... She didn't stop, Lily typed. She just stopped being around to do it. Because she died? Yes. Did she teach you sign language? Emma asked Ethan. She did, from when I was really little. Why didn't you teach me? Because I haven't used it in 6 years. I thought I'd forgotten most of it. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Emma absorbed this. You should teach me, so I can talk to Lily without you translating everything. Lily's expression did something complicated. She typed, I'd like that. The pizza arrived. They ate and talked. Or rather, Emma talked, Ethan translated, and Lily responded with a mix of signing and typing. It felt chaotic and imperfect. and more natural than Ethan had expected. As the sun started to set, Emma yawned. I have homework. Since when do you admit to having homework? Ethan asked. Since I actually want to do it for once. They walked back to the truck. Lily walked with them, and when they reached the parking lot, Emma hugged her without warning. Lily looked startled, then pleased. She hugged Emma back. She's good, Lily signed to Ethan over Emma's head. She has her moments. This was good. It was. Can I see you again, both of you? Yes. When? Soon. Emma climbed into the truck. Ethan and Lily stood there, neither quite ready to end the day. Thank you, Ethan signed. For what? For meeting her. For being patient. For not running away. Why would I run away? Most people would. I'm not most people. I'm starting to notice that. Lily smiled. Good. Text me when you get home. I will. She walked to her car. Ethan got in the truck. Emma was already buckled in, looking thoughtful. I like her, Emma said as he started the engine. Yeah? Yeah, she's real. What does that mean? It means she doesn't pretend, she just is. That's a good quality. The best quality. Emma paused. Mom would like her. Ethan's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. Mom always said the best people were the ones who didn't try to be anything except themselves. Your mom said a lot of smart things. She did. Emma looked out the window. Are you going to keep seeing her, Lily? If she'll let me. She will. How do you know? Because she looks at you the way you look at her. How's that? Like you're both surprised it's happening, but glad it is. Ethan drove home, his daughter's words echoing in his head. When they pulled into the driveway, Emma grabbed her soccer bag and headed inside without waiting. Ethan sat in the truck for a moment, pulled out his phone and texted Lily. We're home. Emma says you passed. Did I? With flying colors. Good. I was nervous. You didn't show it. Feelings are liars. You really need new material. Never. Ethan smiled and went inside. Emma was already in her room, supposedly doing homework, but probably reading about sharks again. He made dinner, spaghetti, because it was easy, and Emma never complained. They ate together, Emma recounting her day in exhaustive detail, including her assessment of Lily's character. She's good, Emma concluded, but don't mess it up. Is that going to be your catchphrase forever? Until you stop being capable of messing things up? Yes. After dinner, Emma disappeared into her room again. Ethan cleaned up, then sat on the couch with his phone, texting Lily about nothing important, just the comfortable back and forth of two people who were figuring out what this was. Around 9, Emma emerged in her pajamas. I'm going to bed. You feeling okay? Fine. Just tired. She kissed his cheek. Night, Dad. Night, kiddo. She started toward her room, then stopped. I'm glad you met her. Me too. And I'm glad you let me meet her. She wanted to meet you. I know, but you could have said no. You didn't. That means something. What does it mean? It means you're not giving up. The words hit hard and gentle all at once. No, I guess I'm not. Good. Mom wouldn't want you to. She went to bed before he could respond. Ethan sat there in the quiet house, thinking about Rachel and Lily and Emma, and how strange it was that life kept moving even when you thought it had stopped. His phone buzzed. Lily. Random question. Shoot. What are you doing next Saturday? No plans yet. Why? Come over. I'll make dinner. Emma too, if she wants. Are you sure? Completely. She'll say yes. Good. I'll send you my address. Okay. Okay. Ethan set down his phone and leaned back into the couch. For the first time in 3 years, he wasn't just getting through the day. He was planning for next week, looking forward to something, letting himself hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. It was terrifying. It was also the best he'd felt in longer than he could remember. He went to bed around 10, fell asleep thinking about farmers markets and coffee shops and a woman who signed with her whole heart and dreamed of nothing at all. The week crawled by in a way that made Ethan acutely aware of time. Every day felt like 3. Every hour stretched thin. Work was work. Machines broke, he fixed them. The new promotion sat in a folder on his kitchen counter, unsigned because he hadn't decided if he wanted the responsibility. Emma noticed his distraction on Tuesday. "You're doing it again," she said over breakfast. "Doing what?" "The thing where you stir your coffee but forget to drink it." Ethan looked down. The coffee had gone cold. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "Saturday. That's 4 days away." "I'm aware." "Are you nervous?" "Should I be?" Emma crunched her cereal. "Probably. Meeting someone at their house is different than meeting them at a restaurant or a market. You see how they actually live. When did you become an expert on dating?" "I watch Mrs. Chen's soap operas. I know things." "That's concerning. That's education." Wednesday, Lily texted him around lunch. "What does Emma like to eat?" "Everything except mushrooms and Brussels sprouts." "Good to know." "Allergies?" "None." "Perfect. I'm making lasagna. You don't have to go to that much trouble. It's not trouble. I like cooking when I have a reason to." "We're a reason?" "You're the best reason I've had in a while." Ethan stared at the text for a full minute before responding. Same. Thursday, Emma came home from school with a drawing she'd made in art class. A house with 3 stick figures standing in front of it, one tall, one medium, one small. "Who's this?" Ethan asked, pointing to the medium figure. "Lily." "Why is she in the picture?" "Because she's part of things now." "Is she? Isn't she?" Ethan didn't have an answer. Emma taped the drawing to the refrigerator next to her spelling test and a coupon for pizza, then went to do her homework without waiting for a response. Friday afternoon, David called Ethan into the office again. "Have you thought about the promotion?" he asked. "Some." "And?" "I don't know if I'm the right person for it." "Why not?" "Because leading people means caring about things beyond just getting the job done. I'm not sure I have the bandwidth for that." David leaned back in his chair. "You know what the difference is between a good manager and a bad one?" "What?" "Good managers know they don't have all the answers. Bad managers pretend they do. You'd be a good manager because you'd actually give a damn. That's a low bar. You'd be surprised how many people don't clear it." David slid the folder across the desk. "Take it home. Think about it over the weekend. No pressure, but the offer won't stay open forever." Ethan took the folder. "Thanks. One more thing. How are you doing? Actually doing?" "Fine." "Ethan." "I am. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." "The woman? Lily?" "Yeah." "Good. You deserve that." "Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true." Ethan left the office and finished his shift. At home, Emma was already planning her outfit for Saturday. Jeans and her favorite purple shirt, the one with the star on it that was too small but she refused to give up. "Can I bring something?" she asked. "To Lily's house?" "Like what?" "I don't know. A gift?" "You don't have to bring anything. Mom always said you should never show up empty-handed." "Mom also said not to eat ice cream before dinner, and you do that constantly." "That's different. Ice cream is essential. Gifts are polite." "What kind of gift are we talking about?" Emma thought about it. "I could make her a card. She'd like that." "With drawings?" "With whatever you want." Emma disappeared into her room and emerged an hour later with a handmade card covered in drawings of cats, flowers, and what appeared to be a pizza. Inside, she'd written in careful block letters, "Thank you for being nice to my dad." "That's subtle," Ethan said. "Subtlety is overrated." "Where'd you learn that?" "Mrs. Chen." "Of course." Saturday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that made everything feel significant. Ethan woke up early, made breakfast, helped Emma with her hair because she insisted it needed to be fancy, even though her definition of fancy was a ponytail with a sparkly hair tie. "Are you nervous?" she asked in the car. "A little." "Me too." "Why are you nervous?" "Because I want her to like me." "She already likes you." "I want her to keep liking me." "That's fair." They drove across town to the address Lily had sent. It was a small apartment building in a neighborhood Ethan didn't know well. Tree-lined streets, older houses converted into units, the kind of place that felt lived in rather than just occupied. Lily's apartment was on the second floor. Ethan knocked, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. Emma stood beside him, clutching her card, suddenly shy. Lily answered wearing jeans and a t-shirt with a cartoon cat on it. Her hair was up in a messy bun, and she had flour on her hands. "You're early," she signed. "Traffic was lighter than I expected." "Come in. I'm still cooking." The apartment was small but carefully arranged. Bookshelves lined one wall packed with paperbacks and art books. A desk in the corner held a large monitor and a tablet covered in stylus marks. Plants sat on every available surface, and a fat tabby cat watched them from the back of the couch with narrowed eyes. "That's Miso," Lily typed on her phone, showing Emma. "He looks mean," Emma said. "He is. Don't pet him unless he comes to you first." Emma nodded seriously and held out the card. "I made this for you." Lily took it, read it, and her entire face transformed. She signed something to Ethan. "What did she say?" Emma asked. "She said it's the nicest thing anyone's given her in years." "Really?" Lily nodded and typed, "Really? Thank you." "You're welcome." The kitchen smelled like tomato sauce and garlic bread. Lily had set the table for 3, with mismatched plates and cloth napkins that looked like they'd been ironed. A vase of daisies sat in the center, simple and cheerful. "Can I help?" Ethan signed. "You can keep me company. Emma can help if she wants." Emma volunteered immediately. Lily showed her how to tear lettuce for salad, and Emma took to the task with intense focus. Ethan sat at the small kitchen table, watching them work together, feeling something shift inside him that he couldn't name. Miso eventually wandered over and sniffed Emma's leg. She stayed very still until he rubbed against her, then carefully reached down to pet him. He tolerated it for exactly 10 seconds before walking away. "I've been chosen," Emma announced. Lily smiled and signed something. Ethan translated. "She says Miso never lets anyone pet him. You must be special." "I am special. Everyone says so." Lunch was ready by 1:30. They ate at the small table, Emma chattering between bites about school and soccer, and a book she was reading about space. Lily watched her talk, occasionally responding with signs that Ethan translated or typing quick responses on her phone. "Do you ever get tired of not hearing things?" Emma asked suddenly. Ethan started to intervene, but Lily was already typing. "Sometimes. But mostly, I just get tired of people treating me like I'm broken." "You're not broken." "I know, but a lot of people don't." "That's dumb." "Agreed." After lunch, Emma asked if she could watch TV. Lily showed her how to turn on the closed captions and left her to a nature documentary about penguins. Then she and Ethan moved to the couch, sitting close, but not quite touching. "She's wonderful," Lily signed. "She has her moments. All good ones so far." "Give it time?" "I plan to." The weight of those words settled between them. Ethan looked at her, this woman who'd walked into his life by accident and decided to stay on purpose. "Can I ask you something?" he signed. "Always." "Why did you say yes to all of this?" Lily thought about it, her hands still. Then she signed slowly. "Because you didn't run when things got complicated. Because you introduced me to your daughter instead of hiding me. Because you're either the real deal or the best liar I've ever met, and I don't think you're a liar." "I'm not." "I know." "How?" "Because liars don't look at their daughters the way you look at Emma. They don't stick around when things get messy. They don't show up early to dinner because they're nervous about making a good impression." "I did show up early." "I noticed." Ethan leaned back against the couch. "I don't know what I'm doing." "With what?" "This. You. Any of it." "Good. Me neither." "That's comforting." "Isn't it?" Miso jumped onto the couch between them, circled twice, and settled into Lily's lap. She scratched behind his ears absently, and Ethan watched the easy comfort of it. "Can I tell you something?" Lily signed. "Sure." "I haven't let anyone into my space like this in 3 years. The last person I dated came here once, looked around, and said it was cozy in a way that meant small. He never came back. His loss. I thought so too, but it still hurt. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It taught me that most people don't want to put in the work. They want easy. You're not easy." "Is that good or bad?" "It's honest, and honest is better than easy." They sat there for a while, not talking, just existing in the same space. From the TV, penguin sounds and David Attenborough's voice created a gentle background hum. Emma laughed at something on screen. I like this, Ethan signed. This? Being here. With you. With Emma. All of it. Even though it's terrifying? Especially because it's terrifying. Lily's expression softened. You know what scares me? What? How much I already care. How fast it happened. How easy it would be to get hurt if this doesn't work. We don't have to rush anything. I know, but I also don't want to waste time pretending I don't feel what I feel. What do you feel? She looked at him, her dark eyes serious. Like I found something I didn't know I was looking for. The words hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Ethan didn't know what to say, so he just reached for her hand. She took it, their fingers interlacing easily. From across the room, Emma glanced over, saw them holding hands, and gave a small thumbs up before turning back to her penguins. She's watching us, Ethan said out loud. I know, Lily said, her voice careful and deliberate. She didn't speak often, but when she did, it meant something. They stayed on the couch until Emma's documentary ended. Then Emma asked if they could play a game, and Lily produced a well-worn deck of cards. They played Go Fish for an hour, Emma winning every round through what Ethan suspected was a combination of luck and subtle cheating. Around 4:30, Ethan's phone rang. Mrs. Chen. Hi, he answered. I'm making dumplings tomorrow. Do you and Emma want to come for dinner? Can I bring someone? A pause. The woman? Lily? Yes. Of course, 6 o'clock. Tell her I want to meet the person who filed a complaint for my nephew to investigate. That's one way to put it. It's the correct way. See you tomorrow. She hung up. Ethan looked at Lily. Mrs. Chen invited us to dinner tomorrow. All three of us. Your neighbor? Yes. Is she going to interrogate me? Absolutely. Good. I like her already. They stayed at Lily's apartment until almost 6. Emma helped wash dishes, Miso tolerated more petting, and Ethan felt something like contentment settling into his bones. When it was time to leave, Emma hugged Lily goodbye without being prompted. Lily hugged her back, and over Emma's head she signed to Ethan, Thank you for today. Thank you for inviting us. Same time next week? Absolutely. In the car, Emma was quiet for the first few minutes. Then she said, I like her apartment. Yeah? It feels like her, not like she's trying to impress anyone, just like it's actually where she lives. That's a good observation. I make a lot of those. You do? Dad? Yeah? Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What? Are you happy? Like actually happy? Not just okay? Ethan thought about it. About Lily's apartment and holding hands on the couch and Emma giving him a thumbs up. Yeah, Em, I think I am. Good. You should be. They stopped for groceries on the way home because the fridge was empty and they'd been surviving on takeout all week. Emma picked out ingredients for stir-fry, which she'd decided she wanted to learn how to make. Ethan added vegetables she'd normally complain about, and she didn't say a word. At home, they cooked together, Emma chopping peppers with intense concentration while Ethan handled the stove. They ate at the kitchen table, Emma recounting every detail of the day, analyzing Lily's apartment like an anthropologist studying a new culture. She has a lot of books, Emma observed. She does. Good books, too. I saw the shelf. You cataloged her bookshelf? Obviously, you can tell a lot about a person by what they read. What did you learn? That she likes sci-fi and mysteries and stuff about art. Also that she has the entire Chronicles of Narnia series, which means she has good taste. High praise. The highest. After dinner, Emma actually did her homework without being asked, then announced she was going to bed early because she was tired. Ethan checked her forehead for fever. I'm not sick, she said. I'm just tired. You're never tired. I am tonight. Today was a lot. Good a lot or bad a lot? Good, but still a lot. She kissed his cheek. Night, Dad. Night, kiddo. She paused in her doorway. I'm glad you're happy. Me too. Don't mess it up. I'll try not to. Good. She closed her door. Ethan stood there for a moment, then pulled out his phone and texted Lily. Emma's verdict, you have good taste in books. That's what she was doing? Cataloging my shelves? Apparently. Did I pass? With flying colors. Good. I was worried. About what? That she'd think I was trying too hard. She thought the opposite. She said your apartment feels like you. Is that good? It's the highest compliment she knows how to give. There was a pause. Then, I really like her, Ethan. She really likes you too. And you? How are you feeling about all this? Ethan thought about lying, about hedging, about protecting himself. Then he thought about what Lily had said, that she didn't want to waste time pretending. Scared and happy in equal measure. Good. Me too. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. Yeah, me too. Yes. Sunday dinner at Mrs. Chen's was exactly as intense as Ethan expected. She answered the door, took one look at Lily, and signed something so fast Ethan barely caught it. What did she say? Emma asked. She said Lily has good posture. That's random. Mrs. Chen notices everything. Mrs. Chen led them into her kitchen, which smelled like ginger and soy sauce. Her dining table was set for 4, and she'd made enough dumplings to feed 12 people. You must be Lily, Mrs. Chen signed, her movements crisp and precise. And you must be Mrs. Chen. Call me Wei. Only the children call me Mrs. Chen. Thank you for having me, Wei. Thank you for filing that complaint. My nephew needed something real to investigate. Most of his cases are people stealing toilet paper from the supply closet. Lily laughed, and Mrs. Chen looked pleased with herself. They ate at the table, Emma teaching Mrs. Chen the signs she'd learned, Mrs. Chen correcting her hand shapes with the authority of someone who'd been signing for decades. Ethan had forgotten she knew ASL. His mother had taught her years ago, back when Ethan was still in elementary school. Your mother would like this girl, Mrs. Chen said to Ethan during a lull in conversation. You think? I know. She had good instincts about people. This one is good people. I'm sitting right here, Lily signed. I know. I'm complimenting you. By talking about me in third person? It's more efficient, Lily smiled. I like you. Good. I like you too. Don't hurt my boy. I won't. And don't let him hurt you either. He's an idiot sometimes. I'm also sitting right here, Ethan said. I know. I'm warning her. After dinner, Mrs. Chen sent them home with leftovers and a stern instruction to come back next week. In the car, Emma declared it the best dinner she'd had in months. Better than pizza? Ethan asked. Pizza is good, but dumplings with people you like is better. At home, Emma went to bed without argument. Ethan sat on the couch with his phone, texting Lily about the evening, about Mrs. Chen's approval, about how strange it was that his life had shifted so completely in just 3 weeks. It doesn't feel like 3 weeks, Lily texted. Feels longer? Feels like it's always been this way. Does that make sense? Complete sense. Good. I thought I was going crazy. If you are, we both are. That's comforting. Ethan went to bed around 11, the promotion folder still sitting on the counter, Emma's drawing still on the fridge, his life still moving forward in ways he was choosing instead of just accepting. The week that followed was a blur of work and dinner at Lily's and Emma's soccer games where Lily sat in the bleachers and cheered silently, her hands signing encouragement that Emma somehow understood. Thursday night, Ethan finally signed the promotion paperwork. He didn't know if it was the right choice, but it felt like the kind of risk worth taking. Friday, he told David. David smiled and said congratulations, then immediately started listing the new responsibilities. Ethan listened, half terrified, half excited. Saturday, Lily came to Emma's soccer game and then to their house for the first time. She stood in the living room looking at the photos on the wall. Rachel's face preserved in frames, the before times documented in careful detail. Is this weird? Ethan signed. A little, but not bad weird. She was good. I can tell. Emma misses her every day. So do you. Yes. It's okay to miss her and also move forward. Is it? Yes. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Emma called them into the kitchen, where she'd apparently decided to make cookies without supervision. The kitchen was covered in flour, the cookies were lopsided, and Emma looked immensely proud of herself. They're experimental, she announced. What's the experiment? Ethan asked. Finding out if they're edible. They were, barely. But they ate them anyway, sitting at the kitchen table, making faces at the overly salty dough, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Later, after Emma was in bed and Lily was getting ready to leave, she stopped at the door. "Can I say something?" she signed. "Always. I know this is fast. I know it's complicated. I know there's a lot that could go wrong. But I don't want to slow down. I don't want to protect myself. I want this, whatever it is. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary." Ethan reached for her hand. "I want this too." "Yeah? Yeah." She kissed him then, quick and gentle, and left before he could overthink it. Ethan stood in the doorway, watching her drive away, feeling like his life was finally becoming something he recognized again. Sunday morning, Emma came into his room at 7 a.m. "I have a question," she said. "It's 7 a.m. on a Sunday. It's important." "Okay, what? Are you going to marry Lily?" Ethan's brain short-circuited. "What?" "It's a simple question." "It's a complicated question." "Is it?" "Yes, we've known each other for a month." "So? When you know, you know." "Where are you getting this stuff?" "Mrs. Chen's soap operas. I'm banning those." "Too late. I've learned things." Emma sat on the edge of his bed. "I'm just saying if you were going to marry her, I'd be okay with it." "That's good to know." "More than okay. I'd be happy about it." "Emma, I like her, Dad, and she likes you, and she's good to me. That's everything that matters. It's more complicated than that." "Why?" "Because life is complicated. Oh, only if you make it complicated." She left before he could argue. Ethan lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about marriage and complications, and an 8-year-old who somehow understood things he was still figuring out. His phone buzzed. "Lily." "Random thought." "I'm listening." "This is the happiest I've been in years." Ethan typed back. "Same." "Scary, right? Terrifying. Want to keep doing it anyway?" "Absolutely." He got up, made breakfast, and started his day. Emma was already at the table, reading a book about dolphins and eating cereal. She looked up when he entered. "Did you think about what I said?" "I'm not thinking about marriage after 1 month, Em." "Your loss." "Probably." She went back to her book. Ethan made coffee and sat across from her, watching her read, thinking about the future for the first time in 3 years without feeling like he was betraying the past. It was progress, small, strange, imperfect progress, but it was enough. 3 months passed in a way that felt both fast and slow. Fast because every week brought something new. Dinners at Lily's apartment, soccer games where she cheered from the bleachers, Sunday mornings at Mrs. Chen's house eating dumplings. Slow because Ethan was finally paying attention to time instead of just surviving it. The promotion took effect in November. Ethan spent his first week as senior maintenance technician trying to figure out how to manage 3 people who all had more seniority than him. 2 of them resented the promotion. The third, a guy named Carlos, just shrugged and said he was glad someone else had to deal with the paperwork. "You'll figure it out," Carlos said on Ethan's second day. "You're good at fixing things. People aren't that different from machines." "People are way more complicated than machines." "Sure, but the principle's the same. Figure out what's broken, fix it, move on." It wasn't great advice, but it wasn't terrible either. Emma turned 9 in late November. Lily helped plan the party, a small gathering at the house with Emma's soccer team and a few kids from school. They made a volcano cake that actually smoked when they lit the candles, courtesy of dry ice that Lily had somehow acquired. "Where did you get dry ice?" Ethan asked. "I know a guy," Lily signed. "You know a guy who sells dry ice?" "I know a lot of guys. I'm very connected." Emma declared it the best birthday she'd ever had, which meant more than Ethan wanted to admit. Later, after the kids left and Lily was helping clean up, Emma pulled her aside. Ethan watched from the kitchen as Emma signed something to Lily. He couldn't quite see what, but Lily's expression shifted, surprise, then something softer. She signed back and Emma hugged her. "What was that about?" Ethan asked later after Emma was in bed. "She asked if I was staying." "What did you tell her?" "That I planned to, if that was okay with both of you." "And what did she say?" "That it was more than okay. That it was perfect." Ethan pulled Lily closer. She's right. About what? It is perfect. Imperfect perfect, but still. I don't think that's grammatically correct. I don't care. December came with cold that made Ethan's morning drives to work miserable and Emma's demands for hot chocolate constant. Lily started coming over more often, sometimes staying for dinner, sometimes staying later. Emma never commented on it, just accepted Lily's presence like it had always been there. 2 weeks before Christmas, Ethan's truck broke down. Not regular broke, catastrophically broke. Transmission shot. Repair cost more than the truck was worth. He stood in the garage bay at the mechanic's shop, staring at the estimate, doing math that didn't work no matter how he calculated it. You could get a used one, the mechanic said. Something reliable. I know a guy. Everyone knew a guy. Ethan took the bus home, picked up Emma from Mrs. Chen's, and explained the situation. So we need a new car, Emma asked. Looks like it. Can we get one with heated seats? We're not getting heated seats. But they're nice. We're getting something that runs and doesn't cost our entire savings. Emma sighed dramatically. Fine. But I'm going on record as saying heated seats would be good. That night, Lily came over for dinner. Ethan explained the truck situation while they were cooking, expecting sympathy or maybe practical advice. Instead, she said, I'll help you look. I'm good at negotiating. You don't have to do that. I know, I want to. Why? She stopped chopping vegetables and looked at him. Because that's what people do. They help each other. And because you do the same for me. Would I? Wouldn't you? He thought about it. Yeah, I would. Then stop arguing and let me help. They spent Saturday looking at used cars. Emma came along, providing running commentary on each option. Too small, too ugly, too old. Smells weird. The salesman at the third dealership looked ready to cry. She's very opinionated, he said. You have no idea, Ethan replied. They finally found something at a lot on the edge of town. A 5-year-old sedan with reasonable mileage and no weird smells. The salesman quoted a price that was still too high. Lily pulled out her phone, showed him comparable prices from 3 other dealers, and negotiated them down $1,500 in under 10 minutes. How did you do that? Ethan asked in the parking lot. Research. Also, confidence. People assume if you're confident, you know something they don't. Do you? Sometimes. Sometimes I'm just good at bluffing. They drove the new car home, Emma in the back seat already planning where to put her stickers. Ethan drove carefully, still adjusting to how it handled differently than his truck. Thank you, he said to Lily at a red light. For what? For helping, for being here, for all of it. You're welcome. I mean it. I don't know how I'd do this without you. You'd figure it out, you always do. Maybe, but this is better. She reached over and squeezed his hand. Emma made a gagging sound from the back seat. You're both gross, she announced. You're 8, Ethan said. 9, and you're still gross. Christmas approached faster than Ethan was ready for. He'd been dreading it, the first real holiday with someone other than Emma and Mrs. Chen since Rachel died. But Lily made it easy. She didn't push, didn't try to replace anything, just existed alongside the traditions they already had. Christmas Eve, they went to Mrs. Chen's for dinner. She'd invited half the neighborhood and cooked enough food to feed them all twice. Emma helped serve. Lily charmed everyone she met, and Ethan felt something that might have been peace. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Lily looked back at her and signed to Ethan. She's good. She is. You did that. We did that, me and Rachel. Rachel started it. You finished it. Both things matter. At home, Ethan carried Emma to bed. She woke up just enough to mumble something about Santa and went back to sleep. Lily helped him set out the presents they'd hidden in the garage. A new soccer ball, art supplies, books Emma had been asking about. You're good at this, Lily signed. At what? Being a parent, being present, all of it. I'm making it up as I go. Everyone is. You're just honest about it. They sat on the couch, the Christmas tree lights casting soft shadows across the room. Ethan had put up the tree the week before, Emma insisting on the same ornaments they'd always used, including the ones Rachel had made years ago. Can I ask you something? Lily signed. Sure. Where do you see this going? The question hung between them, honest and vulnerable. I don't know. Ethan signed carefully. I just know I want you here. I know Emma wants you here. I know this feels right in a way nothing else has in 3 years. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she signed, What if I told you I wanted more? More what? More than just dating. More than just dinner and soccer games and sleeping over sometimes. More permanent. Ethan's heart did something complicated in his chest. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I don't know. What do you think I'm saying? That you want to be part of this. Actually part of it. Not just visiting. Would that be okay? With me? With both of you? Ethan thought about Emma's question months ago, about marriage and knowing and not making things complicated. He thought about Rachel, who'd told him once that the right thing was usually the hard thing, and the hard thing was usually obvious. Yeah, he signed. It would be more than okay. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Lily smiled, and it was the kind of smile that reached her whole face. Good. Me too. So what happens now? I don't know. We figure it out. Together. They sat there until after midnight making plans that were half serious and half ridiculous. Lily mentioned moving in, maybe in the spring. Ethan mentioned converting the spare room into an office for her. They talked about logistics and lease agreements and how to tell Emma, even though Emma probably already knew. Christmas morning, Emma woke them up at 6 a.m. by jumping on the bed. Santa came, she announced. How do you know? Ethan mumbled. I checked. You're not supposed to check until everyone's awake. Everyone is awake. I woke you up. They went downstairs. Emma tore through presents with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning her approach for weeks. New soccer ball? Perfect. Art supplies? Amazing. Books. Immediately started reading the first one. This is the best Christmas ever, she declared. You say that every year, Ethan said. This year, I mean it more. After presents, they made breakfast together. Lily taught Emma how to make French toast properly, which involved more cinnamon than Ethan thought necessary, but tasted incredible anyway. Can Lily move in? Emma asked over breakfast, completely casual. Ethan choked on his coffee. What? Can Lily move in? She's here all the time anyway. Might as well make it official. Lily looked at Ethan, eyebrows raised. He looked back, trying to figure out how Emma always knew things before he said them. We were actually talking about that, Ethan said carefully. And we're thinking about it. For the spring, maybe. Emma nodded like this was obvious. Good. She can have the spare room for her office. I already planned it out. When did you plan this? Last week. I made a diagram. Of course you did. Can I show Lily? Sure. Emma dragged Lily upstairs to show her the diagram, which apparently included furniture placement and color schemes. Ethan stayed in the kitchen, cleaning up breakfast, trying to process how his 9-year-old had orchestrated his entire future. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Merry Christmas. Did you propose yet? He typed back. It's 9 a.m. on Christmas. So? When you know, you know. You've been talking to Emma. Smart girl. Listen to her. He didn't respond, just pocketed his phone and went upstairs. Emma and Lily were in the spare room, Emma pointing at different walls, Lily nodding seriously like Emma's diagram was a professional blueprint. What do you think? Emma asked Ethan. I think you've thought about this more than I have. Someone has to plan around here. That's fair. Lily signed to him over Emma's head. She's very thorough. Tell me about it. January came with snow that made driving treacherous and Emma's soccer games cold. Lily officially gave notice on her apartment, planning to move in by March. They spent weekends clearing out the spare room, boxing up things Ethan had been storing there for years. Old tools, Rachel's clothes he hadn't been able to donate, memories he'd been avoiding. You don't have to get rid of everything, Lily said one Saturday, holding up a box of Rachel's scarves. I know, but I should probably donate some of it. Only if you're ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Then keep what matters. Donate the rest. There's no timeline for this. They kept the scarves, a few dresses Emma might want someday, photos and letters. The rest went to donation centers, and the room slowly transformed into something new. February brought Emma's science fair, where she presented a project on renewable energy that involved a working solar panel she'd built with Lily's help. They won second place, which Emma insisted should have been first. The judges were biased, she declared. Or maybe the first place project was better, Ethan suggested. Impossible. Ours had actual electricity. Theirs had a volcano. Volcanoes are overdone. Lily smiled and signed. She's competitive. You're just noticing this now? Ethan signed back. I noticed. I'm just saying it out loud. March arrived with weather that couldn't decide if it was winter or spring. Lily moved in over the course of a week, her belongings fitting into the spare room and various corners of the house with surprising ease. Miso came too, immediately claiming Emma's bed as his territory. He's on my pillow, Emma said the first night. He's establishing dominance, Lily explained. Can I establish it back? You can try. Emma tried. Miso won. Emma accepted defeat with grace and bought him a cat bed he refused to use. Living together was harder than dating had been. Small conflicts emerged. Lily liked the house warmer than Ethan did. Emma complained about Miso knocking things over. Ethan had to adjust to someone else's schedule intersecting with his and Emma's. But they figured it out, one small compromise at a time. April brought Emma's 10th birthday, which she insisted on celebrating with a camping trip. They drove 2 hours to a state park, set up tents that took 3 attempts to assemble correctly, and spent 2 days hiking and roasting marshmallows and pretending the ground wasn't incredibly uncomfortable to sleep on. This was a terrible idea, Ethan said the second night, his back screaming. This was the best idea, Emma countered from her sleeping bag. You're both right, Lily signed. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat again. Lily looked at Ethan and signed. I have something to tell you. Good or bad? Good, I think. Okay. I got a job offer, a big client, long-term contract, really good money. That's amazing. It means I'll be working from home more, busier, less flexible. We'll figure it out. You always say that. Because it's always true. What if it's not this time? Then we'll figure out why and fix it. That's what we do. A May came with warmth that made everyone forget winter had ever existed. Emma finished 4th grade with straight A's and a note from her teacher that said she was delightfully challenging. Soccer season ended with a tournament Emma's team lost in the semifinals, which Emma handled with surprising grace. We'll win next year, she announced. That's the spirit, Ethan said. I'm not being optimistic, I'm being realistic. We're getting better. Next year will be the best. I like the confidence. It's not confidence, it's fact. In June, Mrs. Chen invited them to dinner with the kind of mysterious energy that suggested she was planning something. They showed up to find her entire extended family there, cousins, nephews, her son from California who never visited. What's going on? Ethan asked. Family dinner, Mrs. Chen said. Your family. Therefore, family dinner. It was chaotic and loud and perfect. Emma taught Mrs. Chen's grandnieces how to sign basic phrases. Lily talked design with someone's boyfriend who worked in advertising. Ethan helped in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, while Mrs. Chen gave him unsolicited advice about everything from car maintenance to marriage. When are you proposing? She asked. Who says I am? Everyone says you are. It's obvious. It's been 7 months. So? When you know, you know. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. What if I mess it up? Then you mess it up and you fix it. That's life. Stop overthinking. That night, after everyone left and they were driving home, Lily signed to Ethan. Mrs. Chen cornered me in the kitchen. What did she say? That you're an idiot if you don't propose soon. She said that? Not in those exact words, but the meaning was clear. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's right. Ethan nearly drove off the road. What? She's right. You should propose. Or I should propose. One of us should make this official. Are you serious? Completely. Right now? Not right now. But soon. When it feels right. When does it feel right? I don't know. You'll know when you know. Emma groaned from the back seat. Everyone keeps saying that. It's not helpful. You're supposed to be asleep, Ethan said. I'm pretending. You're both terrible at whispering. We weren't whispering. We were signing. Same difference. I can still tell what you're saying by your faces. July came with heat that made everyone miserable. The air conditioning broke. Ethan spent a weekend fixing it, and they all slept downstairs where it was cooler. Emma went to soccer camp for 2 weeks, came back sunburned and happy, and announced she'd made the travel team. That means more games, she explained, and tournaments, and I'll need new cleats. Of course you will. Good ones. Define good. Expensive. That's what I thought. August meant back-to-school shopping, which Emma approached with the intensity of a military operation. New notebooks, specific pens, a backpack that met her exact specifications. Lily helped her pick out clothes, which resulted in a wardrobe that was somehow both practical and stylish. How did you do that? Ethan asked, looking at the purchases. I listened to what she actually wanted instead of what I thought she should want. That's revolutionary. That's parenting. You're good at it. I'm learning from the best. Emma? Obviously. September arrived with the kind of clarity that made everything feel possible. Emma started 5th grade. Ethan's team at work finally stopped resenting him and started actually functioning as a team. Lily's big contract turned into 3 more clients, all wanting her work. And Ethan finally figured out when it felt right. It was a Saturday in late September, almost exactly 9 months since that first dinner. They were at Salvatore's, the same restaurant where it all started, though this time by choice rather than setup. Emma was with Mrs. Chen for the night, supposedly doing homework, but probably watching soap operas. They ordered the same meals they'd had that first night, sat at the same table by the window, talked about everything and nothing, the conversation flowing as easily as it always did now. When dessert came, Ethan's hands were shaking slightly as he signed, I need to ask you something. Okay? This place, this table, this is where everything changed. I remember. You changed everything. You and your ridiculous complaint and your honesty and your refusal to let me hide. Is this going somewhere? Yeah, it is. He pulled out a small box from his pocket, opened it to reveal a simple silver ring with a small diamond. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 9 months. I know there are 1,000 reasons to wait, but I also know that I don't want to. I know that you're the best thing that's happened to me since Rachel died. I know Emma loves you, I know I love you, and I know I want this to be permanent. Lily's eyes were bright, her hands still. So I'm asking, Ethan continued, signing with his free hand. Will you marry me? Lily stared at the ring, then at him, then back at the ring. Then she signed, You're serious? Completely. This isn't because Mrs. Chen pressured you? Mrs. Chen definitely pressured me. But that's not why I'm asking. Why are you asking? Because you're it. You're the person I want to come home to, the person I want to build a life with, the person I want Emma to grow up knowing as family. Because when I think about the future, you're in it, always. Lily reached across the table and took the box, looked at the ring for a long moment, then signed, It's perfect. Is that a yes? That's a yes. Ethan put the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, which felt symbolic in a way he didn't have words for. They sat there, holding hands across the table, and Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Complete. When they got home, Emma was waiting in the living room even though she was supposed to be at Mrs. Chen's. Did you do it? She asked immediately. How did you get here? Ethan asked. Mrs. Chen drove me. Did you do it? Lily held up her hand showing the ring. Emma screamed and hugged both of them, a tangle of arms and excitement. I knew it! I knew you'd do it tonight. How? Ethan asked. Because you've been weird all week, and because Mrs. Chen told me you asked her for Grandma's ring. I didn't ask her for Grandma's ring. Emma pointed to Lily's hand. That's Grandma's ring. Ethan looked closer. It was. The ring his mother had worn, that he'd somehow forgotten Mrs. Chen had kept after she died. She gave it to me last week, Ethan explained to Lily. Said my mom would want you to have it. Your mother's ring, Lily signed, her expression complicated. Is that okay? It's more than okay. It's perfect. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, looking smug. I told you when you know, you know. You're all conspiring against me, Ethan said. Yes, Mrs. Chen agreed, and it worked. You're welcome. They celebrated with ice cream and stayed up too late. Emma planning the wedding with the same intensity she'd planned her bedroom and the spare room and everything else. Lily indulged her, signing responses to increasingly elaborate suggestions. "Can we have it at the restaurant?" Emma asked. "Which restaurant?" Ethan asked. "Salvatore's. Where you met. Where you proposed. It's symbolic." "That's actually not a bad idea," Lily signed. "I have a lot of good ideas," Emma said. "You do," Ethan agreed. The wedding happened 3 months later, in December, at Salvatore's. They rented out the whole restaurant for the afternoon. Mrs. Chen helped coordinate, which meant everything ran perfectly even when it shouldn't have. Emma was the maid of honor, a role she took extremely seriously. The ceremony was small, just close friends and family, maybe 40 people total. Carlos from work came, looking uncomfortable in a suit. David and his wife came, bringing a gift that was definitely too expensive. Some of Lily's friends from college drove in, bringing chaos and laughter and stories Ethan had never heard before. They wrote their own vows. Ethan stumbled through his in spoken words and sign language, promising to love Lily and learn with her and not overthink everything quite so much. Lily signed hers clearly and carefully, promising to be patient with his overthinking and to love both him and Emma as the family she'd always wanted. Emma cried during the vows, which she later insisted was because of allergies. The reception was loud and chaotic and perfect. They served the same pasta they'd eaten on their first date. The DJ played music nobody could dance to properly, but everyone tried anyway. Emma gave a speech that was supposed to be 3 minutes and went for 10, covering everything from meeting Lily for the first time to the current plan for the spare room. At the end of the night, after everyone left and the restaurant staff was cleaning up, Ethan and Lily stood at the same table where they'd first sat together. "We did it," Lily signed. "We did. Any regrets?" "None? You?" "Not one?" Emma appeared, her fancy dress already stained with cake frosting. "Can we go home now? Miso is probably destroying something." "Probably," Lily agreed. They drove home together, Ethan, Lily, and Emma, in the car they'd bought together, to the house they shared, to start the life they were building. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever was. But it was theirs. Emma went to bed without argument, exhausted from the day. Lily changed out of her wedding dress into pajamas, and they sat on the couch together, still wearing their rings, still processing everything. "Thank you," Ethan signed. "For what?" "For staying. That first night and every night after. For choosing this. Thank you for being worth choosing. We're really doing this. We really are. It's terrifying. It's perfect." They sat there in the quiet house, Miso curled up between them, Emma asleep down the hall, the future stretching out in front of them with all its possibility and uncertainty. Ethan thought about the trap that had been set 9 months ago, meant to expose him as a fraud. Thought about how it had backfired completely, turning into the best thing that had ever happened to him. Sometimes the wrong intentions led to the right outcomes. Sometimes tests revealed truth instead of lies. Sometimes what started as manipulation ended in love. His phone buzzed. "Mrs. Chen. Welcome to the family. Official this time." He showed it to Lily. She smiled and signed. "She's relentless." That's putting it mildly. "But she's family. So are you. So are you." They went to bed eventually, exhausted and happy and married. Ethan fell asleep with Lily beside him, Emma down the hall, and the quiet certainty that this, all of this, was exactly where he was supposed to be. Not perfect, not without challenges, not without the ghost of Rachel that would always exist in the corners of his life and Emma's, but real, honest, built on a foundation of unexpected connection and deliberate choice. In the morning, Emma would wake them up too early. Miso would knock something over. Lily would make coffee too strong, and Ethan would drink it anyway. They'd figure out breakfast and errands and all the mundane logistics of living together. And it would be good. Better than good. It would be theirs. The silent setup had been meant to destroy him. Instead, it had built something better than he could have imagined. A family that chose each other. A love that started with suspicion and ended with certainty. And in the restaurant where it all began, if you looked at table 7 on a quiet afternoon, you might still see traces of that first meeting. The candle that had flickered between them. The space where two people had signed to each other across impossibility. Where a trap became a beginning. Where silence became the loudest truth of all.